Chapter 195. Fengwu shook her head innocently. I don't know them. I don't like them. Fengwu's animal instincts told her that she did not have a good impression of them. Got it, Ajur sneered. Tell me if you see them again. I'll help them loosen their muscles. Fengwu nodded obediently, indicating that she would do as she was told. Xiao Wu, if someone asks you to carry their level in the future, you mustn't agree. Our main goal in the Mirage is to train ourselves. If you carry them, you won't be helping them. Instead, you'll be hindering their development, Elena said worriedly to Fengwu. I know. I won't carry them, Fengwu said. Oh right. Why didn't you carry that girl? Since when did Fengwu become so smart? She actually knew how to reject other people's attempts to take advantage of her. Elena was pleased to see that Fengwu had grown a lot after not seeing her for a while. However, she soon realized that she was overthinking things. The Fengwu girl was still the same girl. She had not grown at all. Big brother Peiqing said that we didn't come to the Mirage to play. We're here to train. If we want to become stronger, we have to rely on ourselves. We can't rely on others, and we can't let others rely on us, Fengwu said honestly after thinking about it. In reality, Peiqing had not said all this because he had such high awareness. Instead, he was afraid that Fengwu girl would be taken advantage of when they were not around. That would be very bad. That was why he had said all this in advance. He did not want others to see Fengwu's naivety and take advantage of her. Peiqing himself probably did not expect that his words would be effective so quickly. He had even helped Fengwu avoid a plot against her. Elena and Ajur did not expect that Fengwu had suddenly become so smart because Peiqing had already spoken to her. The two of them simultaneously gave Peiqing a thumbs up in their hearts. This guy was quite reliable sometimes. Elena did not stay in the Mirage for too long. She left after meeting Fengwu and the others for a meal. Just as Peiqing had said, they still had to rely on themselves to train in the Mirage. So Elena did not plan to help them level up. That would not fulfill their purpose. Ajur stayed behind and brought Fengwu to fight monsters. Since he knew that Fengwu liked small animals and preferred fighting humanoid monsters over animal monsters, Ajur directly brought Fengwu to a place with more humanoid monsters. The monsters in the virtual realm didn't have any intelligence. They were only endowed with fighting instincts. All their actions were controlled by the master god of this world. Fengwu and the others didn't feel guilty about killing humans when they fought. It was just that this world was too realistic. The strength of the humanoid monsters ranged from beginner sword master to advanced sword master. It was no different from fighting people in the outside world. In this world, it was not easy to fight 10 humanoid monsters at once, unless you had super strength that surpassed everyone else. This was also why Mei Li and the others felt disbelief and jealousy when they saw Fengwu sweeping through so many humanoid monsters. Ajur and Fengwu's levels were still low, so they could not go to high-level maps. They could only level up in this beginner's map. The levels of the monsters in the beginner's map were not high. Moreover, for people of Fengwu and Ajur's strength, they were not difficult to fight. However, there was no training effect. If they really wanted to improve their strength in battle, they could only go to higher-level maps and fight with stronger opponents. Fengwu and Ajur had always been good friends. Ajur even treated Fengwu as his own child. So when the two of them fought monsters, their efficiency was very high. Their experience rose rapidly. At this rate, it would not be long before they could unlock a new map. In the Mirage, players would be able to enter a new map every 10 levels. The real experts had already gathered in the high-level maps. Those who would hang around in these small maps were not the best of the best. With entering a new map as their goal, the two of them quickly spent an hour grinding monsters, earning a lot of experience. If they continued at this rate, they might be able to enter a new level 20 map very quickly. Unfortunately, perhaps the heavens did not want them to live too peacefully. They had actually arranged for two people to disturb their leveling journey. Big Sis, so you're here. That's great. Nicole has met Big Sis again. Big Sis, do you want to level up with Nicole? Nicole promises to be very, very obedient. I'll help you pick up your bags and I won't run around. Okay, that's right. The person who suddenly appeared and acted cute towards Fengwu was Nicole, who had been pestering Fengwu not long ago. Xiao Wu, when did you have a little sister? Ajur's lips curled into a sneer as he asked in a seemingly casual manner. I don't have a little sister. Fengwu looked at Nicole seriously before shaking her head. Isn't she your big sister? The man who came with Nicole was clearly of a rather high level. He was at least level 20. As they were unable to use inspect on someone who was 10 levels higher than them, Fengwu and Ajur were naturally unable to determine the level of this man, who came with the woman who called herself Nicole. At that moment, the man, who seemed to be of a higher level, was looking at Nicole and Fengwu in confusion. His rugged face was filled with confusion. He did not seem to understand why one of them kept calling Nicole Big Sis, while the other refused to admit that they were sisters. Big brother. Are you saying that if I call you Big Brother now you'll really become my big brother? Ajur sent a humanoid monster flying with a kick as it tried to ambush him. That makes sense. The boorish man nodded. He actually seemed to agree. He recalled that the girl in front of him also seemed to call him Big Brother. It seemed that Nicole and her black-haired sister really were not related by blood. Nicole did not expect that the helper she had found would not help her at this crucial moment. Instead, he was dragging her down. She secretly gritted her teeth. If she had known this would happen, she would not have brought such an idiot along. If it weren't for the fact that he was the highest-leveled person she knew, she would not have bothered with this kind of man who was not handsome at all. Nicole was a standard beauty lover. She was only interested in good-looking men. Big sis, can you grind with us? Big brother Anston is really strong. With him around, we can level up even faster. Nicole looked at Fengwu eagerly, her eyes flashing with a glimmer that made one unable to refuse. This is Big Brother Anston, right? You don't mind bringing us 2 burdens? Ajur raised his eyebrows. This Anston was clearly an expert. Why would such a person want to help a smurf level up? You don't have to be so humble. I already saw your strength from afar. When I was your age, I did not have such skills. How can this kind of strength be called a burden? Anston waved his hand, looking at Fengwu and Ajur with a hint of admiration. Chapter 196. Nicole's expression changed slightly. She didn't bring Anston here to make friends with them. Since no one has any objections, then it's settled. The 4 of us will level up together. With Big Brother Anston leading us, we'll be able to reach level 20 in no time. Nicole looked into the distance with a yearning look. Ajur didn't say anything else, tacitly agreeing to Nicole's suggestion. This Nicole had always wanted to get close to Fengwu. He wanted to see what this woman was up to. Don't think that you'll be fine just because you have an expert with you. If you piss me off, I'll teach you a lesson. Anston was indeed an expert. He killed the monsters cleanly, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. It was obvious that he was a veteran of the battlefield. Anston was indeed a veteran of the battlefield. He was originally a freelance mercenary, and had always completed various missions alone. He was considered a relatively famous figure in the freelance mercenary world. Because he was a loner, he had encountered several life-threatening situations when entering and exiting dangerous places. In these dangerous situations, Anston's strength and combat awareness had improved significantly. Fengwu and Ajur naturally didn't object to the addition of such an expert. However, they really didn't know what Nicole was doing in the virtual realm. After joining with Anston, she didn't do anything other than pick up items. Occasionally, she would be chased by monsters and had to be rescued by Anston several times. Ajur was speechless about that woman. Such a stupid woman really opened his eyes. In his opinion, even Rika, whom he didn't think highly of, were better than this woman. At the very least, no matter how bad their personalities were, they still knew how to help when it was necessary. They wouldn't be like this, always thinking of others to protect them. After fiercely despising Nicole in his heart, Ajur took the fruit from Anston. There wasn't much edible meat in this small map, made up of humanoid monsters. Even Anston, the oldest brother, could only find some fruit for Fengwu and the others to eat. Although he didn't want to admit it, this guy called Anston had a good character. He killed monsters when they needed to, and even took the initiative to find food for everyone to eat when they needed to replenish their stamina. Fengwu took the fruit and took out 2 meat buns from her storage space. She started eating them in small bites. Her eyes lit up when she saw the meat buns. Sister Fengwu, Nicole also wants to eat meat buns. Can you give me one? Nicole looked at Fengwu pitifully, as if she would cry if Fengwu rejected her. Fengwu swallowed the bun in her mouth and looked at Nicole. Her oily lips gently spat out 2 words. No. Nicole didn't expect her to reject her so bluntly. Shouldn't she be giving the meat bun to her for the sake of her image? Wasn't this woman afraid that the man beside her would think that she was petty? Sister, can you really not give Nicole one? Nicole really wants to eat meat. Her voice became more and more aggrieved. Actually, she just wanted to cause trouble for Fengwu. It would be best if this beautiful red-haired man beside her hated her, Nicole thought maliciously. As expected, Anston couldn't stand seeing her so pitiful. Sister Fengwu, why don't you give one to Nicole? When we return to Xihua City, Brother Anston will buy you a lot of meat buns to eat, okay? He spoke to Fengwu in a negotiating tone. He didn't express any dissatisfaction with Fengwu. From Anston's point of view, it was just a matter of meat buns. Unfortunately, before Anston could finish, the last meat bun was eaten by Fengwu. Don't underestimate Fengwu's eating speed. Nicole and Anston were speechless. Brother Anston, I really want to eat meat. Nicole acted coquettishly and stared at Fengwu accusingly. Anston was having a headache, but he couldn't bear to disappoint a gentle girl like Nicole. He could only look up at Fengwu, hoping that she would take out another meat bun. You really want to eat meat that much? Fengwu ignored Anston's gaze and looked at Nicole seriously. I really want to eat. Nicole pouted, her voice filled with unspeakable grievance. I know. Fengwu slowly got up and walked to the side of a humanoid monster. She killed it with a single slash of her sword. Nicole smiled triumphantly in her heart. Brother Ajur, does Sister Fengwu hate me? Nicole didn't do it on purpose. Can you help me explain to Sister? If worse comes to worst, Nicole won't eat meat. A pair of beautiful eyes stared at Ajur pitifully, looking extremely wronged. Nicole always knew how to use her looks to her advantage. She had completed an extremely difficult chain mission to obtain a permanent disguise item. She had created such an adorable and invincible face for herself. She knew all too well which expression of hers could arouse a man's pity the most. Ajur ate his fruit in silence, ignoring Nicole. Anston coughed awkwardly and took big bites of the apple in his hand. Huh. What is Sister Fengwu doing? Nicole suddenly realized that Fengwu was squatting beside the corpse of a humanoid monster. She was holding a short sword and waving it around. No matter how she looked at it, it was very strange. Ajur and Anston heard her and turned to look. Sure enough, they saw Fengwu squatting beside a corpse. They didn't know what she was doing. Sister Fengwu, don't be angry. Nicole didn't mean to make you angry. Nicole quickly ran over and shouted softly as she ran. She was just there to watch the show. Nicole thought that Fengwu had come here to abuse the corpse to vent her anger, because she wasn't as popular with men as she was. Of course, she had to come and watch this kind of joke to her heart's content. Since Fengwu dared to refuse her, she would make Fengwu be hated by all men. Later, she would try her best to seduce that handsome man, Ajur. She didn't believe that with Ajur's looks, he would like a woman who had given birth to a bastard child. When the time came, as long as he discovered her charm, she would be able to make him grovel at her feet. The more Nicole thought about it, the more beautiful it became. Sister Fengwu, what are you doing? Anston walked over with Ajur. Ajur was also a little curious, but his instincts told him that it was better for him not to know. Which part do you like? Fengwu didn't answer directly. Instead, she turned her head and looked at Nicole. Her pink lips parted slightly. This couldn't be what they were thinking, right? Nicole's expression changed drastically. She looked at the humanoid monster's corpse on the ground that looked exactly like a real person. Her face suddenly paled, and she retreated 3 meters away from Fengwu. Chapter 197. You actually want to eat human flesh. Nicole screamed. You were the one who said you wanted to eat meat. Fengwu's expressionless face said confidently. This person was so strange. She was clearly the one who wanted to eat meat, wasn't she? There wasn't any beast meat here, and the only ones with meat were these humanoid monsters. That was why she wanted to get meat from these monsters for her to eat. She had already thought of a way to satisfy her request, so why was she still unhappy? With Fengwu's simple mind, she probably wouldn't have thought of it if no one told her. No one would happily accept someone's offer to eat human flesh. Cough, Xiaowu, isn't this a bit too extreme? Even a juror, who was used to being arrogant, had never thought of eating human flesh. But now in front of her, Fengwu, who had always been an innocent girl, could actually ask her which part she liked without batting an eyelid. Ah! Who taught Fengwu to be like this, bastard? Get the hell over here. I promise I won't beat you to death. That's right, that's right. Fengwu sis, this is human flesh, not beast meat. Anston was about to burst into tears. You really couldn't judge a book by its cover. Who would have thought that such a cute girl would want to eat human flesh? As expected, this world was too scary. It was better for him to return to the real world. This is just a monster, not a real person. Fengwu looked at the three people seriously and said calmly. As she spoke, she tried to cut a piece of meat from the humanoid monster with her sword. Unfortunately, a line of words appeared in front of her when she cut. This is a humanoid monster. Cutting and dismembering is not allowed. P.S. It's wrong to eat humans. You can't be so extreme. Fengwu was silent. She put her sword back into the space. Seeing the weapon in Fengwu's hand disappear, the others finally let out a sigh of relief. Even if this isn't a real human, no normal person would want to eat it just by looking at it. Can you eat it? Anston said frantically. Nicole, who was hiding furthest away from Fengwu, nodded her head furiously. Not bad, not bad. This woman actually wants me to eat human flesh. It's too scary. She's not a normal human at all. If I had known, I wouldn't have volunteered to approach Fengwu. Nicole was crying in her heart. I'm not eating it. It's for her. Fengwu shook her head and pointed at Nicole. Of course Fengwu wouldn't eat it. She had only thought of trying to get some meat from the humanoid monster after seeing how much Nicole wanted to eat. Who knew that the meat couldn't be cut off at all, so she could only give up. I don't want to eat meat. I don't want to eat meat. I want to eat fruit. Fruit is good. It can replenish energy and is good for the skin. I will eat fruit. I won't eat meat anymore. Nicole was afraid that Fengwu would really stuff a piece of human flesh into her mouth. As she spoke, she picked up the apple that hadn't been touched much and started eating it in big bites. Those who didn't know would think that she had been starving for several meals. Nicole was probably frightened by Fengwu, so she became much more well-behaved after that. She didn't run around to lure monsters to save her, nor did she make some self-righteous requests. She only looked at Fengwu from time to time like she was looking at a monster, as if she was afraid that Fengwu would rush over and eat her. While Fengwu was killing monsters and leveling up in the virtual world, Madame Lan was wiping her tears as she sent her son off at the entrance of the Feng family mansion. Tian, or you have to bring your sister back. Your sister is too pitiful. You have to bring her back, okay? Madame Lan urged again and again, worried. Mother, don't worry. Big brother will definitely bring Xiaowu back. Feng Ting had a decent smile on her lips as she stood obediently to the side. Madame Lan only glanced at her indifferently. She didn't say anything else. Feng Ting lowered her head sadly, looking a little pitiful. Feng Juntian saw this scene and frowned slightly. He wanted to say something to his mother for this stepsister of his, but he remembered that it wasn't easy for his mother either. As a junior, he didn't have the right to say anything bad about his mother. After Feng Juntian repeatedly promised that he would bring Fengwu back, Madame Lan finally let him go. Feng Ting watched as Feng Juntian left. Feng Ting wanted to help Madame Lan in, but Madame Lan ignored her outstretched hand. She wiped her tears as she silently walked into the Feng family mansion. Feng Ting lowered her head, feeling wronged. The servants around her sympathized with this young miss born of a concubine, but so what if they sympathized? Who told her to come from a dishonorable background? It was normal for Madame Lan to dislike her. Didn't they see that even the family head and master didn't care about her? Besides, Madame Lan was only a little cold to Miss Feng Ting. She didn't hit or scold her, and she didn't even deduct her monthly allowance. Compared to the other families that oppressed their daughters of concubines, this Madame Lan was already considered very kind. No one noticed that the moment Feng Ting lowered her head, the resentment in her eyes almost materialized. What was wrong with her? She was 100 times more outstanding than Feng Wu, prettier than Feng Wu, and more popular than Feng Wu, but Madame Lan had always been cold to her. No matter how she tried to curry favor with her, it was useless. As expected, if they weren't biological mother and daughter, no matter how hard she tried, she wouldn't be able to gain Madame Lan's affection. Fortunately, after her hard work since she was young, Feng Juntian still liked her very much. Madame Lan's daughter, Feng Wu, wasn't close to Feng Juntian at all. She still had a chance. She had to firmly grasp Feng Juntian's heart. She had to become Feng Juntian's most beloved younger sister. She stood there silently for a moment. When she raised her head again, it was that kind and strong Feng Ting again. Ting Ting. Feng Ting was about to return to her room when she heard someone calling her. She turned around and saw that it was her good friend, Qiu Ruoshui. Qiu Ruoshui was also a frequent guest of the Guan family. The servants didn't stop her and she easily entered the Feng family mansion. Ruoshui. Feng Ting smiled. She looked very happy that Qiu Ruoshui had come to find her. Ting Ting, I saw Brother Juntian walking towards the transportation array just now. Where is he going? Qiu Ruoshui had just brushed past Feng Juntian when she arrived. However, the two of them were quite a distance apart, so they didn't talk. Let's talk in my room. The two girls held hands and walked towards Feng Ting's room. Although Madame Lan didn't like Feng Ting, this concubine's daughter, she had never mistreated her materially. No one could find any fault with her. Feng Ting's room was also strictly decorated according to the standards of a concubine's daughter from a large family. When decorating, Madame Lan had even sent someone to ask for Feng Ting's opinion. So this room was completely decorated according to Feng Ting's taste. Chapter 198. Sometimes, Feng Ting would rather Lady Lan be like the legitimate mothers of other families, and mistreat the children of concubines. That way, she could find a chance to act pitiful in front of her grandfather and father, and sow discord between them in front of her brother. Unfortunately, this Lady Lan did not do anything wrong. She still remembered when she first returned to the Feng family. She saw Lady Lan crying all day and thought that she was weak and easy to bully. She even wanted to find a chance to make her father hate her, and let her biological mother have the chance to take the position of the legitimate wife. That way, she could go from being a concubine's daughter who was not liked by people to the legitimate wife. After staying in the Feng family for a long time, she found out how naive her original thoughts were. As long as Feng Juntian was here, Lan Xiaodai could not step down. The mother of the future head of the family had to be the legitimate wife. Even if her father really hated Lan Xiaodai, he could not bring her mother into the family. Just her grandfather alone would not be enough. As for Lan Xiaodai, although she cried all day, she really did not do anything wrong. Also, when there were outsiders, she could act in line with the elegance and nobility of the Feng family's head madam. In these years in the Feng family, even she had to admit that Lan Xiaodai was much more outstanding than her mother. Her mother, who was a servant, could not catch up to her. The two girls naturally had to whisper behind closed doors. Qiu Ruoshui asked the question from before again. Feng Ting smiled slightly before saying, "Brother is going to pick up Feng Wu." Qiu Ruoshui never would have thought that Feng Juntian left to do this. Thinking of Feng Wu, Qiu Ruoshui became angry. What's going on? Didn't grandfather Feng dislike that Feng Wu? Why did he suddenly change his mind and want to bring her back? Feng Ting poured a cup of tea for the two before saying, "Because Aunt wrote a letter saying that she was coming back from the Blood Moon Forest, and also mentioned that she wanted to see Xiao Wu. Because of Aunt, grandfather agreed to let Xiao Wu come back to the Feng family. It's great that Xiao Wu can come back. Mother can finally see her biological daughter." Feng Ting was a little happy, but also a little sad. Qiu Ruoshui couldn't bear it when she saw her good friend's disappointed look. "Ting Ting, don't be sad. Even if Feng Wu comes back, so what? You are the eldest young miss of the Feng family. No family will let her enter the family after what she did." "Ruoshui, don't say that. Xiao Wu is my sister. No matter what she did, I believe that she had her reasons. What difficulties could she have? She's just shameless." Qiu Ruoshui lifted her eyelids indifferently. Feng Ting looked at Qiu Ruoshui with disapproval. All right, I won't talk about it, okay? At most, I won't talk about your sister. Let's talk about your aunt. Your aunt is really coming back. When I was young, I admired Aunt Tianqing the most. When will she arrive? Will she return to the Blood Moon Forest this time? When Qiu Ruoshui mentioned Feng Tianqing, her eyes sparkled as if she was looking at her idol. She should arrive in a few days. Aunt will stay for a long time this time. It doesn't look like something happened in the Blood Moon Forest. This time, there should be someone to replace Aunt. Something happened. What happened? Is Aunt Tianqing all right? Thinking that her idol might be injured, Qiu Ruoshui was anxious. She should be fine. However, the people who guarded the Blood Moon Forest with Aunt Tianqing are either dead or injured. Aunt Tianqing has guarded the Blood Moon Forest for 20 years. It's time for someone else to go. That's why she brought cousin Yanran back. You mean Feng Yanran? She's coming back. I haven't seen her for many years. I don't know if she's as beautiful and cute as when she was young. Thinking of Feng Yanran, Qiu Ruoshui thought of a little girl as beautiful as a doll. She should be as beautiful as when she was young. I haven't seen little sister Yanran for a long time. I really miss her. Thinking of Feng Yanran, Feng Ting's eyes dimmed. Feng Wu was the Feng family's first wife's daughter. She was highly valued by her grandfather and father. However, Feng Yanran was an illegitimate daughter with an unknown father. She was more favored than all the younger generation in the family. It would be strange if she liked Feng Yanran. Of course, she wouldn't show such thoughts. She was the kind and brave Feng Ting. Naturally, no one noticed the conversation in Feng Ting's room. At this moment, Feng Juntian had already passed through 2 teleportation arrays and finally arrived at the central city. Feng Wu didn't know that her cheap brother had already come to the central city to find her. She had just come out of the mirage and was enjoying the delicious lunch made by Tianyu. She was only halfway through her lunch when she was interrupted. Xiao Wu, Big Brother is here to pick you up. When Feng Juntian saw Feng Wu in a blue dress, he suddenly felt his eyes sting. At this moment, Feng Juntian felt unprecedentedly nervous. He couldn't stop thinking about her reaction. Would she scold him? Would she chase him out with a broom? Or would she just ignore him? All kinds of guesses flashed past Feng Juntian's mind. However, he never expected that after hearing his words, Feng Wu would put down her bowl and chopsticks and throw herself into his arms. The little hand that had taken the drumstick was still tightly hugging his waist. The greasy little hand had left 2 greasy marks on Feng Juntian's white robes. The corners of Tianyu's mouth twitched. She should at least wipe her hands. How expensive was that set of clothes? How could she use it to wipe her hands? Fortunately, Feng Juntian didn't care if his clothes were stained. He hugged Feng Wu back as his heart swelled. He really didn't expect that Feng Wu would take the initiative to hug him. Feng Wu had never been close to him since they were young. Every time he wanted to get close to this little sister of his, Feng Wu would hide far away from him. This was the first time in his life that his little sister took the initiative to hug him. What should he do? Big brother. Feng Wu was in a good mood. She finally met her big brother. Her big brother was so handsome. Good girl. He patted his little sister's head. Xiao Wu, will you go home with big brother? Feng Juntian hugged Feng Wu and asked carefully. However, Feng Wu lifted her head from Feng Juntian's embrace. No, I can't go. Mingxi hasn't agreed to marry me. Feng Wu shook her head decisively. Who is Mingxi? This was the first time Feng Juntian had heard of this name. He's Bao Bao's future father. Feng Wu looked at Feng Juntian and said seriously. What? Feng Juntian was shocked. She wanted to find a father for her child. Xiao Wu, what kind of person is this Mingxi? How much do you know about him? What if he's not a good person? The newly appointed sister-obsessed big brother had just acknowledged his little sister, and he was already worried sick about her. Chapter 199. No matter who that Mingxi was, in Feng Juntian's eyes, he was just a kidnapper who kidnapped innocent girls. Feng Wu couldn't understand her brother's feelings. She blinked and said, he's a very good person just like Master. In Feng Wu's eyes, her master, who had raised her since she was young, was the best person in the world. No one could compare to him. Master. At least I didn't raise you for nothing. Master, when did you have a master? Feng Juntian asked in confusion. Feng Wu pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She lowered her head, leaving Feng Juntian with a black crown. What was going on? Feng Juntian fell silent. It seemed like he had touched on a topic that he couldn't talk about. It was important to change the topic. Xiao Wu, no matter who that Mingxi is, go home with your brother first, okay? Grandpa, father, and mother are still waiting for you at home. Don't you want to see them? Her lowered head finally lifted slowly. Grandpa, father, mother. These words had never appeared in her life before. That meant that other than her brother, she had other relatives too? Before she transmigrated, Feng Wu was very envious of others who had so many relatives. Now she had them too. She was a little happy, but also a little hesitant. It wasn't easy for her to meet someone who met her master's criteria for a future husband. After leaving, would she still be able to see Mingxi? Although she really wanted to see her family, she didn't want to never see Mingxi again. Feng Wu girl was very distressed and didn't know how to choose. Will I still be able to see Mingxi? Feng Wu asked her brother carefully. Her eyes were filled with anticipation and fear of disappointment. She was as adorable as a little animal. Of course you'll still be able to see him. We're just going home for the holidays. When school reopens, you'll be back again. No matter what, he had to call her over first, so she could still come back. The Feng Wu girl was satisfied and nodded. Let's go home together, brother. After having a delicious meal at Tianyue's house, Feng Wu took Little White and Little Bun with her and bid farewell to Tianyue's family. She promised that she would bring Tank some snacks from the ancient eastern countries when she came back. Only then did she wave her sleeves and leave with her brother. Outside the Feng residence, Feng Juntian and his younger sister, Feng Wu, stood outside the main entrance and accompanied Feng Wu as they looked around the main entrance. The Feng family's residence was naturally decorated with oriental characteristics. At the entrance were two red lacquered doors. At first glance, it gave people a dignified feeling. At the main entrance, 2 rows of servants were already standing in place, shouting to welcome eldest young master and second young master back home. The servants of the Feng family carefully sized up the young miss who had left home for more than a year. They felt that the young miss seemed to have changed a lot. In the past, she would get angry at the slightest thing. She was like a cannonball that would explode at the slightest provocation. But now she had a wooden face the entire time. Her expressionless face looked much cuter than her angry face from before. That holy beast was carrying the young Mrs. Child, right? They didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. Back then, the young miss had gotten pregnant before marriage and was punished by the old master. Although the family head and the old master had ordered them to keep it a secret, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Moreover, it was such a big matter. Although it was impossible for everyone in Lanling City to know about it, some of the big families with some power basically knew about it. Although the ancient eastern country wasn't as strong as the 4 great empires where no one dared to provoke them, it was definitely not a small country. There were many big and small cities in the ancient eastern country. Lanling City was the capital of the ancient eastern country. In Lanling City, there were many aristocratic families that stood at the top of the pyramid of the ancient eastern country. The Feng family was such a 1,000-year-old aristocratic family. At the same time, it was also one of the top aristocratic families. Feng Juntian held Feng Wu's hand and brought his younger sister into the grand entrance without looking at her. When the servants of the Feng family saw this scene, their jaws almost dropped from shock. It couldn't be. What did they see? They actually saw this pair of siblings who had always been at odds with each other walking hand in hand. This is too inconceivable. I must still be dreaming. I must be having an eye problem. It must be. I must go see a doctor later. Eldest young master and second young miss actually came back hand in hand. Could it be that the sky of the Feng family is about to change? Second young miss is actually holding hands with eldest young master. I'm really not dreaming. Feng Juntian didn't know that this group of servants who had serious expressions on their faces were actually crazily commenting in their hearts. If he knew, he would probably send all of them to the mines to work. When she saw Feng Wu and Feng Juntian walk in hand, the person who was affected the most was undoubtedly Feng Ting. All this time, as a concubine sister who took it as her duty to drive a wedge between the siblings, the thing she didn't want to see the most was for the siblings to have a good relationship. If this pair of siblings had a good relationship, then would there still be a place for her? She wanted to be Feng Juntian's closest sister. She had worked hard for so many years. How could she let Feng Wu turn it around so easily? No, she must think of another way. She definitely couldn't let them reconcile. At this moment, Feng Ting had a joyful smile on her face, but her heart was filled with hatred. She was determined to chase Feng Wu away again. She definitely couldn't let her snatch away what she had fought so hard for. Grandfather Xiao Wu is back. Feng Juntian let go of Feng Wu's hand and bowed respectfully to the old man who was sitting on the main seat. Feng Wuliu looked expressionlessly at Feng Wu and grunted. It was unknown what he was thinking. Was he happy about this granddaughter's return, or was he indifferent? Xiao Wu, quickly greet grandfather. Madame Lan thought that Feng Wu was still angry and tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve. Her gentle face was filled with nervousness. Grandfather. Feng Wu obediently called him grandpa. But after that, she stood next to Feng Juntian without saying a word, as if she was a block of wood. Remember, you have to thank your aunt properly for being able to come back this time. If it wasn't for your aunt wanting to see you, don't even think about taking a step into the Feng family's door in this lifetime. Feng Wuliu got angry the moment he saw Feng Wu. He really didn't understand how his Feng family could give birth to a descendant like Feng Wu. He didn't blame her for not having talent. Since she was a girl, there was no need for her to inherit the family business. At most, he would find a good marriage for her in the future. Being a happy upper-class woman at home and helping her husband and children was also a good choice. However, this girl seemed to be born rebellious. She would always put on a face as if the entire family owed her. At home, she would snatch things from Feng Ting from time to time. Otherwise, she would scold the servants, saying that the servants looked down on her. Every time she went out, she would definitely get into trouble. In short, this child was a troublesome child since she was sensible. Chapter 200. He originally thought that this was already enough to make him angry, and nothing else could surpass this matter. He didn't expect that he had underestimated his granddaughter's ability to cause trouble. After leaving home and coming back, she was actually found to be pregnant. A 14-year-old little girl was actually pregnant. This wasn't the most infuriating thing. The most infuriating thing was that this girl actually said that she didn't know who the child's father was. When he asked her what happened, she couldn't say anything at all. Feng Wuliu could only think that this good-for-nothing granddaughter of his had fallen into someone else's trap. After all, no matter how good-for-nothing Feng Wu was, he didn't believe that she would have the guts to have an affair with a man before they were even married. Although Feng Wu was also a victim in this matter, he thought that the reason why things ended up like this was because this girl was too willful and ran away from home, giving an outsider the opportunity to take advantage of her. Every time he thought of this, he was furious. Say, how did their Feng family give birth to such a stupid granddaughter? What kind of sin did they commit? Don't worry, father. Feng Wu already knows her mistake. She will definitely be obedient in the future. Madame Lan held Feng Wu's small hand and quickly said, why couldn't this child admit her mistake to her grandfather? If she continued to be so stubborn, her grandfather might get angry again. Xiao Wu, quickly tell grandfather that you know your mistake. Quickly say it. Afraid that old Master Feng might chase Feng Wu out again in a fit of anger, Madame Lan pulled Feng Wu until she was in tears. I was wrong. Although she didn't know what she did wrong, if admitting her mistake could make this madam stop crying, Feng Wu wouldn't refuse to admit her mistake. Master said before that crying wasn't good, and would make people weak. Seeing that she wasn't crying, this madam must be very weak. Originally, Feng Wu thought that as long as she apologized, this crybaby madam would definitely stop crying. She didn't expect that she would cry even harder. Didn't she already say what she wanted? Why was she crying? What a strange person. Xiao Wu, mommy Xiao Wu, you've suffered. You must not have been able to eat or sleep well for the past few months. You still have to take care of the child alone. It's only been a few months, and even your personality has changed. When had Fengwu admitted her mistakes so easily in the past? Even if it was clearly her fault, she would not admit it so easily. Her stubbornness had made her suffer a lot. How much hardship did she have to go through to make her originally sharp character become like this? Poor Xiao Wu, it's all Mom's fault for not protecting you well. It's all Mom's fault. Only the sound of sobbing could be heard in the entire hall. Feng Tianxing was forced by his father's gaze to settle his wife quickly. He also knew that his wife was good at everything, but she loved to cry too much. She was often sad over small things, but his father had always admired strong and independent women. He hated it when women cried the most. Could not eat or sleep well. Fengwu thought about it. She had eaten delicious meat buns and barbecued meat. As for sleeping, Fengwu felt that the bed in the schoolroom was very soft. Although the bed in the guest room in Tianyu's house was a little hard, it was still quite comfortable, so she did not suffer. I don't suffer. I have meat buns and barbecued chicken legs to eat. The bed in the school is very soft. After thinking about it, she said, Xiaobai helps me take care of the baby. It's not hard. Well, you used to only eat the meat of the demonic bull, and never other meat. Now you've started to eat meat buns and chicken. My poor child. Great, the more she cried, the louder she cried. Fengwu did not know what to do. Why did she cry more and more? Master was right. Women who loved to cry were very troublesome, and she should never learn from her. Master was right. Enough, I'm still alive and well. What are you crying for? All of you get out. Fengwu, stay. The old man slammed the table, and the crying stopped immediately. Fengwu looked at the old man with admiration. He was so amazing. He only shouted once and the crybaby who claimed to be her mother stopped crying. Were all creatures like mothers crybabies? But Tianyu did not like to cry. How strange. Fengwu Lu's mouth twitched when he realized that Fengwu was not afraid of him. She was even staring at him with sparkling eyes. This girl had lived outside for more than a year, and had become more daring. If it was in the past, she would have cried silently with a face full of grievance. Madame Lan looked at Fengwu reluctantly. She was very worried that the old man would continue to be angry, but she did not dare to stay. After all, the old man had accumulated power in this family for a long time, and no one dared to offend him. Feng Ting looked at all this with schadenfreude. She could not wait for the old man to lose his head in anger and kill Fengwu and her little vile spawn with one slap. Although she thought so in her heart, she showed a very concerned expression on her face. She looked like a good sister who cared about her younger sister. Feng Tianjun and his son were also very worried. The old man looked like he was still angry. Would it really be okay to leave the two of them alone like this? The father and son made a decision at the same time, which was to stand guard outside the door. If they heard any noise, they could rush in immediately to save them. After everyone left, Fengwu Lu glared at Fengwu angrily. He did not expect to find that this girl was really not afraid at all. If she was alone with him, her grandfather, in the past, this girl would have been scared to the point of trembling. How could she still be so calm? It seemed that going out for a period of time had its benefits. At least her timid personality had changed. Do you know your mistake? After a light cough, Fengwu Lu spoke expressionlessly. I know. Fengwu's eyes sparkled as she obediently replied. This person was really amazing. She heard her brother say that this person was her grandfather. In the future, she must become strong and become like her grandfather. One shout and no one would dare to cry. There seems to be something wrong here. You and that boy from the Chiu family have fate. Don't think about him anymore. If you meet him in the future, find a good family. Who is that boy from the Chiu family? She blinked her big eyes. Who else could it be? Pretending to be confused at this time. Are you still thinking about Chiu Ruabai? He thought that she had really let go, but he did not expect that she still could not let go of Chiu Ruabai. I'm not thinking about him. She did not know him. Forget it, I get angry when I see you. Leave the child here first. Go out and talk to your father. Fengwu Lu waved his hand to drive her away. He was really not used to Fengwu's expressionless face. Oh, Feng Wu nodded and left Xiao Bai and Feng Yi in the hall. Humph. Did she think that he did not know that the foolish father and son had been standing guard at the door? Who did they think he was that he could really kill his granddaughter? Seeing that Feng Wu had left, Feng Wu Lu took little Baozi from Xiao Bai's hands and looked at him carefully. Feng Wu Lu was still a stranger to little Baozi. Moreover, his embrace was a little uncomfortable. Little Baozi frowned and glared at him in displeasure. Chapter 201. Feng Wu Lu glared at him. Who is this child? The vice principal, that old fellow, said that this little fellow has a great background, and told me to treat him well. He even said that I can't tell anyone about this little fellow's background. F***CKU. Do I even know where this little fellow came from? If I want to say something, I need to have something to say. He told me to keep it a secret, but I didn't even tell him clearly. What an unreliable old fellow. Feng Wu Lu glared at Little Bun as he muttered to himself. Luckily, he set up a barrier around him when he spoke, so no one could hear his voice. Xiao Wu, you finished chatting with grandfather so quickly? He originally thought that he would have to wait for a while, but he didn't expect to see Feng Wu come out so quickly. Where's the child? Feng Tianxing didn't see the Holy Mother Beast and the child that the Holy Mother Beast was carrying, so he felt a little puzzled. With grandfather, Feng Wu replied. With grandfather. Feng Tianxing and Feng Tianxing were both shocked. No way, grandfather was such a cold person, but he was actually interested in Feng Wu's child. This was too inconceivable. The two of them weren't worried that old Master Feng wanted to do something to Feng Wu's child. After all, old Master Feng was already a peerless expert standing at the top of this world. Why would he lower himself to make a move on an infant? Old Master Feng was angry. Then why are you guys guarding here? It seems that although your grandfather didn't say it, he has already forgiven Xiao Wu. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't want to get close to the child. Feng Tianxing was happy. On one side was his daughter, and on the other side was his father. The two of them being able to coexist peacefully was naturally a good thing for him. That's great, Xiao Wu. It seems that grandfather's anger has really subsided. Feng Juntian was also happy for his younger sister, and patted her head. In this 1 year, Feng Wu had indeed suffered a lot. Now that the bitterness was over, the sky was finally clear. Feng Wu's return to the Feng family was a big deal in the Feng family. It wasn't a secret in the upper class of Lanling City. Many people didn't expect that Feng Wu would come back one day. Generally speaking, it was already very benevolent of them not to be executed or driven out of the family after doing such a shameful thing. Even if they weren't driven out of the family or executed, it was impossible for such a person to return to the family with their original identity and continue to enjoy the family's treatment. Lanling City, Chiu Family Mansion, Chiu Ruobing's room. In that case, Feng Wu is really back. The woman who spoke was dignified and beautiful. Her eyebrows were picturesque, and she was a beauty full of oriental temperament. The woman's jade-white hands were holding an expensive teacup carved from white jade. Her cherry-red lips were taking a light sip of the fragrant tea. Such a disgusting thing. Why did she come back? Grandpa Feng is really muddle-headed. Another woman sat elegantly in front of the window and trimmed the box in her hand. However, this time, she trimmed the wrong part. Sister Lanzhou, what do we do now? I hate that woman as soon as I see her. I really don't understand why Grandpa Feng wants her to come back. She's always around my brother like a fly. Disgusting. Ever since she heard from Feng Ting that Feng Wu was coming back, Qiu Ruoshui wanted to stay in the Feng family and give Feng Wu a warning. It would be best if she could complain about her in front of Grandpa Feng. However, her sister, Chiu Ruobing, sent her a message saying that their good friend, Sister Lanzhou, came to visit. She had no choice but to leave the Feng family and return to the Chiu family. Sister, don't talk nonsense. If you compare her to a fly, then what does that make Brother Ruobai? Chiu Ruobing glanced at her indifferently. She put down the potted plant in her hand, and the scissors that her friends used to trim branches and leaves and sat beside Lanzhou. Chiu Ruoshui also realized that her comparison was inappropriate after hearing her sister's words. She patted her mouth and playfully stuck out her tongue. I'm wrong. That thing is a dirty thing. It's too flattering to call her a fly. Ruoshui, why are you so angry? It's impossible for her and brother Ruabai to be together. You should know that even if the relationship between your two families is good, Aunt will not let brother Ruabai marry a woman who has given birth to a child as his legal wife. Lan Zhou put down the teacup in her hand and stood elegantly. But I just hate her. I don't want to see her pestering my brother. She slapped me twice last time. That woman is disgusting and vicious. I wish she would be killed. You were slapped by her. Qiu Ruobing didn't expect that her sister, who had always been dull, would hide such an important thing. She dared to slap you? Even Lan Zhou widened her eyes in surprise. Why wouldn't she dare? She is getting bolder and bolder. She only dared to take a detour when she saw me before. Now she not only dares to talk back to me, but also dares to slap me. Every time she thought of the 2 slaps she received, Qiu Ruoshui felt as if there was a fire burning in her heart. If so, then we really can't let her go. Qiu Ruobing's eyes darkened, and a touch of deep thought flashed through her eyes. Sister, you and Sister Lan Zhou must help me avenge these 2 slaps. If it weren't for the fact that she wanted to persuade her sister and Lan Zhou to help her, she wouldn't have told them that she had been slapped by Feng Wu. Being slapped by a piece of trash wasn't something to be proud of. For Qiu Ruoshui, who had always cared about her reputation, it was even more unacceptable. Don't worry. It's Feng Wu's fault this time. Ruobing and I will definitely help you, Lan Zhou said softly with a loving smile on her face. That's great. Sister Lan Zhou, you're so nice. Qiu Ruoshui cheered. Feng Wu still didn't know that there were 3 girls eyeing her covetously. Her life these few days was very fulfilling. In the morning, she accompanied Madame Lan to read romance novels and played with little Bun. In the afternoon, she accompanied Madame Lan to go shopping and watch a show. Occasionally, Feng Juntian would also go along, although he was dragged to the training room by his grandfather to practice swordsmanship most of the time. Feng Tianqing was busy dealing with the Feng family's matters, and usually wouldn't accompany them. Madame Lan held her daughter's hand. The mother and daughter wore similar mother-daughter outfits as they walked side by side into a private room. This was the most famous theater in Lanling City. Many madams and young couples liked to come here to watch shows. Today, the theater was filled with a new drama called Dragon Slayer. The main plot of this drama was about a young man called Ao Liang. He was obsessed with swordsmanship since he was young. He traveled all over the world and visited countless famous teachers to learn profound swordsmanship. However, when he returned home after mastering his swordsmanship, he found that the village he lived in had been burned down by a fire-breathing dragon. Everyone in the village died, including Ao Liang's parents. After that, in order to avenge the villagers, Ao Liang went to the palace and obtained the royal family's sacred sword. Then he went to the Dragon Island where the evil dragon lived, and killed the fire-breathing dragon. Chapter 202. Because Ao Liang killed the dragon and saved the people of that country, they no longer had to live under the shadow of the evil dragon. To thank Ao Liang, the king betrothed the most beautiful princess of the country to him. From then on, Ao Liang and the princess lived a happy life together. In this movie, Ao Liang was played by a very handsome Asian man. This man was called Watson, and was an actor that Madame Lan liked very much. Every time he acted in a movie, Madame Lan would definitely be there to support him. At this time, the movie was at the scene where Watson found out that the village he grew up in had been slaughtered by the dragon. His father, family, and friends were all gone. He was devastated and swore to avenge the villagers. Wawa. Ao Liang is so pitiful. He lost his family at such a young age. It's so tragic. Madame Lan grabbed her handkerchief and cried as she wiped her tears. Feng Wu. Why is that dragon made of cloth? Actually, that was a fake dragon made of a type of magical material. The material was indeed like cloth. As long as a bit of fire magic was injected into it, it would immediately give the illusion that a dragon had appeared. It looked no different from the real thing. However, Feng Wu's eyes were sharp. She immediately saw that the dragon flying around was just a fake. Why was that person crying so pitifully to a piece of cloth, and even looking for a piece of cloth to take revenge? What a strange person. What burp. Madame Lan, who was crying so hard, almost swallowed her own saliva. That sword is clearly an ordinary iron sword. Why is it a holy sword? Fengwu's expressionless face was full of confusion as she watched that person fight the dragon made of cloth for 300 rounds with the iron sword. Wah! Madame Lan bit her handkerchief. She didn't want to watch a movie with Xiao Wu anymore. How could she let people watch a good movie? Damn. Madame Lan, who wanted to watch a movie with her daughter, didn't dare to ask Fengwu to watch a movie with her anymore. If she couldn't watch a movie with her daughter, then she'd make pastries together. Mother and daughter making pastries together. Just thinking about it made her happy. Madame Lan sent away the servants in the kitchen and brought her daughter with her. She wanted to experience the joy of cooking together with her daughter. When the finished product came out, Madame Lan immediately regretted it. What was this? It was clearly the same steps, but why was the thing made by his daughter black? Moreover, it was emitting a strange smoke. Would it really not die after eating this kind of thing? Fengwu looked at Madame Lan with sparkling eyes, anticipating Madame Lan's taste test. Qinglian stood at the side and watched this scene. She was very worried that if her mistress really ate it, she would be poisoned to death. It's okay. Don't worry if you're just a little bit off. You just need to practice more. Although what Madame Lan wanted to say to her daughter the most was that she hoped that she would never cook again in this lifetime, when she saw her daughter's adorable expectant expression, she couldn't bring herself to say anything. In the end, the words that came out of her mouth became like this. In the end, both mother and daughter ate the biscuits made by Madame Lan. The biscuits made by Fengwu had already been cleared away by the kitchen maids as dangerous items. Da-da-da. Toothless little mouth was wide open as he used the rocking drum as a weapon. His little arms were strong as he used the rocking drum to hit the bed. He was having a great time playing alone. Young master, come drink some milk. This is the milk of a level 5 magical beast. It's very delicious. A maidservant ignored Little White who was standing by the bed and walked in with a bottle of magical beast milk, smiling amiably. The originally harmless Holy Mother Beast Little White suddenly looked at the little maidservant who had just walked in with a warning expression. It was warning this little maidservant not to come any closer. Otherwise it wouldn't be polite. Everyone knew that Holy Mother Beasts were very protective of their young. Once they saw you as an enemy, they wouldn't be polite. You're called Little White, right? Miss Fengwu asked me to bring this magical beast milk. Hurry and feed it to the young master. Fortunately, the maidservant didn't try to get close to Feng Yi. Instead, she looked at Little White and said innocently. Smack. The little maidservant didn't expect that not only would Little White not accept it, it would even wave its paw and the entire milk bottle fell to the ground. How can you do this? The little maidservant was very angry, but she couldn't reason with a magical beast. She secretly cursed her bad luck and glared at Little White, then picked up the milk bottle and walked out. Once the little maidservant left the room, she walked to a small corner that didn't attract too much attention. How is it? Did that little bastard drink it? A woman who was also wearing a maidservant's uniform saw the little maidservant come over, and asked hurriedly. The little maidservant shook her head. Big sister Ming-Er, it can't be done. That Holy Mother Beast has been watching. She didn't let that little bastard drink the magical beast milk I sent. Trash. You can't even do such a small thing. I really don't know what the young miss saved you for. Ming-Er pointed at the little maidservant's nose and scolded her. The little maidservant was scolded until she didn't dare to raise her head. She was very disdainful of Ming-Er in her heart. If you have the ability, you can do it yourself. Why rely on me? After scolding a few more times, Ming-Er finally flung her handkerchief and went back to report to her master. I'm sorry, young miss. That girl failed. Ming-Er lowered her head and said respectfully. That child is a stain on our Feng family. I originally wanted to let him disappear without a trace to save our Feng family's face. I didn't expect. Ming-Er, you disappoint me too much. Feng Ting coldly looked at Ming-Er who was respectfully standing to the side. Her eyes flashed with a light that others couldn't understand. Young miss, please forgive me. Ming-Er definitely won't fail again next time. Ming-Er knelt down in fear. Forget it, get up. Now that I think about it, My idea of getting rid of that child was too immature. I'll drop this matter here. But young miss, letting that little bastard go like this is letting that trash Fengwu off too easily, Ming'er said unwillingly. Don't worry, I won't let her off. I am the Feng family's young miss. I definitely won't let that trash replace my position in Big Brother Juentian's heart. Feng Ting knew that her mentality had been a bit unstable recently. When she saw Feng Juntian treat Fengwu with a pampering expression, the string of reason in her heart snapped. In this family, her grandfather treated her coldly and her father didn't dote on her. Only Feng Juntian, this big brother, was very good to her. Because of Feng Juntian, she got to know many noble ladies and heirs that she couldn't get to know with her status. In order to gain Feng Juntian's favor, she put in a lot of effort and used all kinds of methods to let Feng Juntian see her tenacious and unyielding side. She knew that Feng Juntian admired the same kind of woman as her grandfather, a strong woman. If it wasn't for her father's deep love for Madame Lan, with Madame Lan's personality, she definitely wouldn't have been able to enter her grandfather's eyes. Chapter 203. She knew that it was impossible for her to curry favor with the three heads of the family. No matter how hard she tried, the three of them never doted on or ignored her. She was crazily jealous of Fengwu. Just because she was reincarnated into Madame Lan's daughter, she could gain everyone's attention without putting in any effort. Originally, Feng Juntian and Fengwu's relationship had always been bad. She even secretly mocked Fengwu. But now Feng Juntian, whom she had tried so hard to win over for so long, had sided with Fengwu just like that. Feng Juntian was her only hope in the Feng family in the future. She didn't want anyone to share Feng Juntian's love with her. Seeing Feng Juntian dote on Fengwu more and more, she felt threatened. She had to get rid of Fengwu and make the Feng family completely give up on her. Originally, she wanted to kill Fengwu's son just to make Fengwu suffer and vent the resentment in her heart. But now that she thought about it, she was too irrational at the time. Wouldn't killing Fengwu's son be helping Fengwu? Without this son, there wouldn't be a ready-made stain. As long as that little bastard was around, it would undoubtedly remind everyone that Fengwu was a little slut who gave birth to a child out of wedlock. After thinking it through, Feng Ting's heart calmed down. She wasn't in a hurry. She wasn't the only one who wanted Fengwu to disappear. With her understanding of Qiu Ruoshui, it wouldn't be long before Qiu Ruoshui made a move against Fengwu. It was just that she didn't know how she would deal with Fengwu. If necessary, she might be able to add fuel to the fire from behind. Just as Feng Ting thought, Qiu Ruoshui and Qiu Ruobing had already thought of a vicious plan against Fengwu. And this plan would be carried out in the next few days. On this day, Fengwu was playing with Little Bun in the garden when the maid suddenly brought over a young girl, who was about the same age as Fengwu. Second Miss Lin is here. The maid stood aside and said respectfully, Xiao Wu, why didn't you come and look for me when you came back? You don't know how bored I was when you weren't around. I didn't even have someone to talk to. You can leave first. I have something to say to your young miss. Lin bluntly dismissed these maids. These maids all knew that Miss Lin and Second Miss Fengwu were best friends. Naturally, they didn't dare to disobey her. After the maids left, the girl named Lin intimately wanted to hold Fengwu's hand. Unexpectedly, Fengwu, who had always been close to her, took 2 steps back and avoided her hand. Lin was astonished. What was going on with Fengwu, this idiot? Did she discover something? But that was impossible. Fengwu was so stupid. What could she have discovered? Who are you? Fengwu hugged little Baozi and took 2 steps back. She pursed her lips and stared unblinkingly at this unknown girl in front of her. What's wrong with you, Xiao Wu? I'm your cousin Lin. I'm your eldest aunt's daughter. How could you forget me? No way. Amnesia. She hadn't heard her aunt mention Fengwu's amnesia. Could it be that she was angry? Was it because of her idea that caused her to have a vile spawn? Was that why she was pretending not to know her? Xiao Wu, are you still angry with your cousin? Your cousin did it for your own good. That's why I suggested you go to the dense fog forest to search for the legendary marrow cleansing fruit. I didn't think that something like that would happen to you in the dense fog forest. Your cousin really didn't do it on purpose. Please don't be angry with your cousin. If possible, I'd rather the one who got into trouble was me. Yilin's eyes reddened as she spoke. She used the handkerchief she always carried to wipe her tears. She thought that Fengwu would immediately comfort her like before. After all, she was Fengwu's only friend since young. However, she was destined to miscalculate this time. Even in her dreams, she would never have thought that the real Fengwu had already died when she gave birth to the child. The one living in this body was just a soul from another world. The one who treated her as a friend or sister was the real Fengwu. The current Fengwu would not easily trust a girl who made her feel bad. Perhaps it was because the heavens doted on the naive. Fengwu had an extraordinary sense of value since she was young. She could tell who was sincere to her and who wasn't. Take Feng Juntian for example. When Fengwu first met him, she could feel his kindness and accepted his existence as an older brother. As for Feng Ting, although she kept saying that she was Fengwu's older sister, this older sister did not like her. In fact, she hated her. This was all that Fengwu could sense from Feng Ting. Because of this, Fengwu had never called Feng Ting older sister. Fortunately, the original Fengwu had never bothered with Feng Ting in the past, so no one suspected anything. Now Fengwu felt that this girl's kindness was all fake. She could feel that this girl did not like her as much as Feng Ting. Unable to feel the kindness from this person who claimed to be her older cousin, Fengwu naturally did not believe her words. Although the Fengwu girl was not a smart girl, the instinct of a small animal to seek luck and avoid disaster existed. Yilin cried for a full 5 minutes. When she realized that Fengwu, who used to be so nice, was actually standing in the distance with the child in her arms without any intention of coming over to comfort her, Yilin almost did not know how to continue. No matter how many tricks she had up her sleeves, it was useless if no one was there to support her. What's going on? I saw Yilin crying from afar. Aren't you two sisters usually as close as the same person? What's going on today? Madame Lan noticed from afar that the atmosphere between this pair of cousins was not right, so she wanted to come over to see what was going on. When she got closer, the atmosphere between the two sisters became even stranger. One only cared about crying, while the other stood far away like a block of wood. There was no sign of their usual closeness. This made Madame Lan very puzzled. And, finally, someone came over. Yilin breathed a sigh of relief. If there was no way out, she would not know how to end the situation. Why did this Fengwu become so difficult to deal with after going out? Could it be that she was too traumatized? Alright Yilin, stop crying. Tell me what's going on. She walked over to Yilin and personally wiped her tears. It's nothing. I'm just blaming myself. When Xiaowu was in trouble, I wasn't by her side. After the incident, I couldn't help her much either. I'm sad. Of course, Yilin could not tell the truth. No one knew the truth about Fengwu's accident except for her and Fengwu herself. If she told the truth and her grandfather's family found out that she was involved in Fengwu's pregnancy, Fengwu didn't know what her grandfather and uncle's family would do to her if they found out. Her father was only the head of a small family. She could not lose her grandfather's love and her uncle's love. Chapter 204. Madame Lan didn't know what her niece was thinking. She was quite touched to hear her concern for Fengwu. You're so considerate. I'm very pleased to know that you care so much about Xiaowu. Her tears fell as she spoke. Madame Lan was easily moved by small things, and now, she was touched by Yilin's sisterly love. Aunt, don't cry. It's all my fault for making you sad, Yilin said softly. Madame Lan wiped her tears. It's not your fault, Yilin. I'm just too touched to see your sisterly love. Yilin comforted Madame Lan a little more, and the two of them almost hugged each other and cried. Fengwu, on the other hand, seemed to have been forgotten by the two of them. By the way, Yilin, why are you looking for Xiaowu? Madame Lan finally stopped crying, probably because she had cried enough. It's like this. It's Women's Day in 3 days. I want to go with Xiaowu to the river to release lanterns. Is that okay? Yilin didn't expect to be delayed for such a long time. If it weren't for the fact that Madame Lan was the wife of the head of the Feng clan and her aunt, she would have left long ago. She didn't have the time to be sad with her. She really didn't understand why her uncle had married such a crybaby. How could she teach her a lesson if she cried every day? Madame Lan didn't know that her niece despised her so much. Instead, she felt that Elin was a good person. She had almost forgotten about Women's Day, but Elin still came to invite Xiaowu out. As expected, they were blood-related cousins. After agreeing to let Fengwu and Elin go out to release lanterns together, Fengwu was sold out by her mother just like that. Speaking of Women's Day, it was a festival unique to the ancient Eastern countries. Every year, on this day, whether it was the royal family, noble ladies, or commoners, they would all let their unmarried girls release lanterns at the women's river. It was said that as long as they wrote down their birthday and wishes on paper and put them in the lanterns, their wishes would come true. Regardless of whether the daughter's river was really that efficacious or not, there would definitely be countless unmarried girls who would go to the daughter's river to light their lanterns on this day. Daughter's Day was a big festival in the ancient Eastern country. Grandfather Feng had personally ordered the two young ladies to go to the daughter's river. It didn't matter if they lit up the lanterns or not. On such a lively day, the two young ladies naturally had to go out and have some fun. Of course, Grandfather Feng wouldn't let the two young ladies go to the riverside to light the lanterns by themselves. He still let Feng Juntian accompany them. As for the little bun, Feng Yi, he was carried away by Madame Lan. Although this child's background wasn't too glorious, he was adorable and very good at pleasing people. In less than an hour he made Madame Lan, who originally had a grudge against him, accept Feng Yi. Among the remaining beasts of the Feng family, the three siblings of the Feng family came to the area that was specially circled for the children of aristocratic families and aristocratic families. Although every household could light up their lanterns by the riverside, there was still a difference between aristocrats and commoners. Aristocrats had their own pride and naturally wouldn't squeeze together with commoners to light up their lanterns. In order to let the children of aristocrats have a place where they wouldn't be disturbed, the imperial family specially circled an area and built a garden and a bamboo house here. This allowed these young ladies to admire the flowers and light up their favorite lanterns by the riverside. The bamboo house was very big and was divided into 3 levels. The first level was for the daughters of some ordinary small aristocratic families. The second level was for the daughters of aristocratic families, and some of the daughters of aristocratic families. Only the princesses of the imperial family or guests who were personally invited by the princesses could go up to the third level. This small bamboo house was also divided into levels. No one dared to barge in here. Fengwu and Feng Ting were naturally brought to the second level. There were already some noble ladies sitting on the second level. When these ladies saw Fengwu, they began to whisper softly. Some of the bolder ones even pointed at her. Because Feng Juntian was a man, it wasn't convenient for him to enter the bamboo house where the female guests were resting, so he didn't come with them. This allowed these women to act without any scruples. All the noble ladies here knew that Fengwu was impulsive and brainless. Every time she caused trouble, she would be the one to suffer. If she dared to cause trouble here, then so be it. The Empress had come early today. If she really dared to cause trouble, no matter how powerful the Feng family was, the Empress would still dare to punish her. These noble ladies all had very noble statuses. They didn't really hate Fengwu that much, but they couldn't bear to see her unpresentable appearance. She was the dignified Feng family's daughter of the first wife. So what if she was a piece of trash? Didn't her family also place importance on her? Yet she couldn't see past it. Every time she went out, she would make her presence known. Once she heard the word trash, she would lose control. Because of her personality, who knew how many times she had been schemed against by others? Yet she didn't learn from her mistakes and fell into the same pit every time. They really didn't know how this kind of unpresentable person was born into the Feng family. Thinking that such a thing had sneaked into their class, these noble ladies naturally felt disgusted as if they had eaten a fly. It seemed that even their own style had dropped. Fengwu's scandal had already spread throughout the upper class. These noble ladies didn't sympathize with Fengwu at all for her ending. A piece of trash naturally should stay where she should be. People still needed to be clear about their own position. If she didn't have a big head, then she shouldn't wear such a big hat. Being a commoner was the most suitable for her. Just when everyone thought that Feng Wu had already been kicked out of the Feng family to fend for herself, they didn't think that she would appear again. Thinking that such a thing would continue to disgust them, the noble ladies felt that even this daughter's day wasn't that happy. There was another reason why these noble ladies hated Feng Wu so much that even they didn't want to admit it. It was because of jealousy. They were jealous that Feng Wu didn't have to put in any effort to have her family love her. Even if she was a piece of trash, her family didn't give up on her. Yet she didn't live up to expectations. Thinking about themselves, in order to please their parents, they often forced themselves to do things that they didn't want to do. They also spent a lot of effort to learn those tiring talents. It was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. In short, for various reasons in this circle, no noble lady liked the original body. It would be best if she disappeared forever. Of course, there were also some noble ladies who didn't care about Feng Wu at all. They didn't even bother to look at her, let alone hate her. Feng Wu had just gone up to the second floor when she felt the malice from these noble ladies. Their undisguised disgust and undisguised verbal humiliation shot towards Feng Wu like a knife. Qiu Ruoshui and her sister Qiu Ruobing sat in a corner and sneered at Feng Wu. Make a scene, make a scene. The bigger the better. Chapter 205. How does she still have the face to come? Look at her. I really don't know how an unchaste woman like her has the nerve to come out. She's just thick-skinned. She has the title of the Feng family's #1 trash. But hasn't she lived for so many years? A mere chastity is nothing to her. If I were her, I wouldn't have the face to go home. I really don't know why the Feng family would let such a shameful clansman go back. Yeah, if she was in my family, I would definitely beat that slut who ruined the family's reputation to death. The child is already born, yet she still dares to come and play with the river lanterns. I really don't know where she gets her face from. That's right. If I were her, I'd rather die. I wouldn't live to be a disgrace. The noble ladies who were spouting such vicious words were still elegant and noble. They didn't need to deliberately show it. The noble upbringing that was ingrained in their bones allowed them to maintain their elegance no matter where they were. If it was the original owner, she probably would have already rushed up like a madman and hit everyone she saw. The title of little evil girl wasn't for nothing. However, the one standing here now wasn't the original owner, but a new soul from another world. Xiao Wu, you're here. Why didn't you call me? A shout suddenly came from downstairs. This voice came from Yilin. Yilin was only the daughter of a small family's head. Although she was the daughter of the first wife, she didn't have the qualifications to go to the second floor. If Feng Wu and the others didn't bring her, she wouldn't have the courage to come up. Oh, it's Yilin. Come up quickly. Feng Ting looked downstairs and waved for Yilin to come up. Yilin was angry. A concubine's daughter could actually go to the second floor that she couldn't go to. She once again blamed her mother. Why did she have to marry the heir of a small family like her father? With her identity as the daughter of the first wife of the Feng family, she could marry anyone she wanted. Now, she was reduced to being the wife of a small family's head. Yilin's mother, Madame Feng Tianjiao, was also a top figure in the past. As the eldest daughter of the Feng family, her limelight was unparalleled. Many people guessed which first-rate family she would marry into. No one would have thought that the heaven-blessed Feng Tianjiao would actually fall in love with the son of a small family and elope with him despite her family's opposition. Although she was caught after eloping for less than 2 hours, Feng Tianjiao didn't give up. She constantly went on a hunger strike to protest. In the end, she married the son of a small family as she wished, but the dowry wasn't much. After marriage, Feng Tianjiao's life wasn't as happy as she had imagined. It wasn't until she got married that she realized that life in a small family wasn't easy. Compared to her previous life, it was like heaven and earth. Unfortunately, it was too late for her to regret. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Yilin was Feng Tianjiao's eldest daughter. Feng Tianjiao gave birth to 2 sons and 3 daughters for that small family. It could be considered a prolific family, because her children were good. Although her life in that family couldn't be compared to the Feng family, it was still quite comfortable. No matter what, She was still the daughter of the first wife of the Feng family. That small family didn't dare to treat Feng Tianjiao badly, even if they had the guts to borrow from the heavens. Probably because she was used to being angered by everyone. After Feng Tianjiao got married, she became more and more arrogant and despotic. Even Feng Wulu and Feng Tianxing had a helpless expression when they talked about their daughter and sister. If it wasn't for that bit of blood relationship, the Feng family probably wouldn't have cared about her long ago. After getting Feng Ting's approval, Yilin lifted her skirt and went upstairs. As soon as she came up, she stood beside Feng Wu and Feng Ting. Her eyes looked around curiously. The surrounding young misses didn't even bother to look at her. No matter what, she was still the young miss of the Feng family. She looked like she hadn't seen the world, and wasn't afraid of losing face. Yilin had always been a person with high standards but low abilities. She was spoiled by her good-for-nothing mother. If it wasn't for the fact that she knew how to act in front of the Feng family, she would have already been rejected by the head of the Feng family. Feng Ting hid the disdain in her eyes. Feng Wu was only worthy of associating with such a person. She knew that this Yilin often spoke ill of Feng Wu behind her back. The conflict between Feng Wu and her two younger sisters had Yilin's shadow behind it. Feng Wu only thought that Yilin was bullied by her two younger sisters at home, and stood up for her to beat up her two cousins every time. The result was obvious. She was the bad person, but she didn't get any good words. Not only was she scolded by her family, she even offended her eldest aunt's family. She was simply a big idiot. Let's go. Let's go sit over there. Feng Ting pulled Feng Wu's hand and pulled her to an empty seat. This seat wasn't bad. She could see the scenery of the garden and Daughter River. Xiao Wu, Feng Ting, have you two heard? Among the male guests that came this time, there is an important guest. Yilin lowered her voice mysteriously and pretended to be mysterious as she looked around. Important guests, could it be the three princes? Feng Ting said without much care. Every day, Daughter's Day was like a big blind date venue. There would always be many young masters from aristocratic families, and people from the imperial family coming to support. Needless to say, there were a few couples that met on Daughter's Day. The three princes were frequent guests every year. Although there weren't many people who could get close to the three princes, this didn't affect the enthusiasm of the noble ladies. If she could become a prince's wife, she would be the object of envy of all the women in the country. Feng Ting didn't want to hook up with a prince to marry. First, her identity was there. The imperial family wouldn't let a concubine's daughter enter the door. Moreover, she had already found a target. Although she wanted the identity of a prince's wife, she didn't want it too much. In her heart, she was very disdainful of Yilin's wishful thinking. A daughter from a small family dared to dream about the position of a prince's wife. She really didn't know her own name. How could it be? This time it is a prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. Although I don't know which prince it is a prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. He is a true descendant of God. The more Yilin thought about it, the more excited she became. If she could get the prince's favor, why would she need to come and win over Feng Wu? A prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom? Feng Ting almost cried out in surprise. No wonder there were more male guests in front of the bamboo house than in previous years. It turned out that such an important person had come. Feng Ting's heart suddenly became hot, but after thinking about it, she gave up. The prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom was most likely the target of the princess and the young ladies of the aristocratic families. She probably wouldn't even have the chance to get close. Although Feng Ting's heart was higher than the sky, she still knew her own name. She didn't dare to compete with the princess. If she succeeded, then it was fine. If she failed, then she would be blacklisted by the imperial family. This investment was too risky. Chapter 206. Yilin didn't know what Feng Ting was thinking. She found it strange that the two of them didn't seem to know anything. In fact, Feng Wu and Feng Ting really didn't know about this. Madame Lan said, but she didn't think that the visit of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom's prince had anything to do with the girls of the Feng family. She knew her family's situation. Feng Wu was in such a big trouble now. It was basically impossible for her to find a high-status family. And because Feng Ting was a concubine's daughter, Marrying an ordinary member of the imperial family was already considered a social climb. How could she marry into an empire like the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom, which had divine bloodlines? Because of these reasons, Madame Lan didn't tell the two unmarried girls of the Feng family about the visit of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom's prince. Yes, I also heard about it from my mother. How come you didn't hear about it? Yilin looked at Fengwu and Feng Ting strangely. Impossible. Even her mother, who was the wife of a small family head, knew about it. How could these two young ladies of the Feng family not know about it? If it wasn't for the fact that she might attract the prince's attention by mingling with the noble ladies on the second floor, she wouldn't have gone to find Fengwu. She knew Fengwu well. In the past, Fengwu never went up to the bamboo house on Daughter's Day. She would always leave after releasing the river lanterns. This time, she planned to drag Fengwu up by force. She didn't expect that she would go up by herself. Although she didn't know why she changed so much, it was good for her, wasn't it? She didn't want to think about it. Yilin secretly made up her mind. She must seize this opportunity to win the prince's heart. By then, she would be able to stand out from these noble ladies. Let's see who would dare to look down on her. The more Yilin thought about it, the more beautiful it was. She seemed to see herself wearing the crown of imperial concubine and becoming the object of envy of all the unmarried girls of the Eastern Ancient Kingdom. Fengwu silently ate the pastries on the table. She clearly did not care about the conversation between the two people beside her. The prince had nothing to do with her. Crunch, crunch. A fragrant and sweet biscuit was swallowed by Fengwu in a few bites. She continued to reach for a piece of cake. The ancient Eastern country's daughter cakes were also very famous. On the day of the Daughter's Day, young girls would eat some cakes. This was a tradition of the Daughter's Day. The girl cakes in the bamboo house were all meticulously made by the imperial chefs. They were fragrant, soft, and had a hint of sweetness. They were very popular among the young girls. I don't know. Mother never mentioned this. Xiaowu, do you know? Feng Ting couldn't help but suspect that Madame Lan was afraid that she would steal Fengwu's limelight. Was that why she didn't tell her on purpose? Was she afraid that she would attract the prince's attention and live a better life than her daughter in the future? Feng Ting had never minded using the deepest malice to guess Madame Lan. She didn't believe that Madame Lan would treat her well. She didn't scold or beat her only because she wanted to maintain her virtuous reputation. Putting herself in her shoes, if her husband had children with another daughter, it would be strange if she treated them well. Fengwu didn't stop chewing. She shook her head slightly, indicating that she didn't know about this either. Even Xiaowu doesn't know? Feng Ting didn't believe it. She suspected that Fengwu was deliberately pretending not to tell her. Fortunately, she didn't see that prince as a target, so she didn't lose anything. However, Feng Ting sneered in her heart. So what if Madame Lan didn't want her to marry well? She, Feng Ting, wouldn't be manipulated by her. Yes. Fengwu nodded. She reached out her hand and continued to attack the next piece of cake. Ting Ting. Ruoxue, you're here too. I thought you were on the third floor with Princess Ronghua. Qiu Ruoxue was wearing a light pink dress today. She swayed as she walked over. She had obviously dressed up today. The material of her dress was made of a very rare magic material. The embroidery on her dress was obviously done with a special embroidery technique. There weren't too many accessories on her head. There was only a set of gemstone headwear of the same color as the dress. Although it looked simple, it was low-key and luxurious. Lanzhou's sister is on the third floor with the princess. This year, 5 princesses from the royal family are up there. Even the empress is here. My sister is afraid that I'll say something wrong, so she won't let me go up. Qiu Ruoxue rolled her eyes and said playfully. Princess Ronghua was the third daughter of the current Heavenly Kingdom's king. She was ranked third among the princesses. Although she wasn't the eldest princess, she was the empress's daughter. Her status was very high. Qiu Ruoxue's sister, Qiu Ruobing, had always been on good terms with Princess Ronghua. Among the young girls of the ancient eastern country, there were 3 recognized as the most outstanding women. The first was Princess Ronghua, the third princess of the ancient eastern country. The second was Lan Zhou, the first daughter of the Lan family. The third was Qiu Ruobing of the Qiu family. Each of these three women had a peerless beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. There were simply too many pursuers to count. Because the status of the three women was very high, the empress specially prepared for Lanzhou and Qiu Ruobing to go up to the third floor. In the past, every year on Daughter's Day, Qiu Ruobing would take her sister Qiu Ruoshui up to the third floor to show her face among the empress and the princesses. But this year was different. Today, Princess Ronghua had found her sweetheart, and she had the intention of marrying no one but him. Qiu Ruobing had always been a smart woman. She knew that Qiu Ruoshui had always been unrestrained and heartless. Usually it was okay, but now it was the sensitive period when Princess Ronghua wanted to capture the heart of that person. If Qiu Ruoshui said something that shouldn't be said, then her relationship with Princess Ronghua would definitely be affected. I see. Ruoshui, come and sit down. Don't stand there. Feng Ting took Qiu Ruoshui's hand and let her sit next to her. Miss Ruoshui, you are so beautiful today. You deserve to be the first daughter of the Qiu family. Yilin came up with a flattering face and flattered. Yilin had always been jealous of the good relationship between Feng Ting and Qiu Ruoshui. How could a mere daughter of a concubine know such a high-status friend? It was simply unfair. Because of the resentment in her heart, every time she had a chance to get close to Qiu Ruoshui and her sister, Yilin would never let go of any opportunity to flatter them. I am beautiful every day. You don't have to tell me that. Qiu Ruoshui glanced at her impolitely. She looked down on Yilin, who wanted to flatter noble girls all day long. Only Fengwu, who was not presentable, would treat such a person as a friend. I said something wrong. I said something wrong. Miss Ruoshui, you are so beautiful every day. After getting snubbed, Yilin didn't insist on flattering him. She sat quietly at the side and didn't say anything. Chapter 207. Xiao Wu, don't just eat desserts. Drink some tea. This is crouching dragonflower tea. Only the palace has it. It's not easy for us to drink it normally. Qiu Ruoshui and Feng Ting sat on the side and chatted, ignoring her. Yilin could only focus her attention on Fengwu. This crouching dragonflower was a special flower on a certain mountain in the ancient eastern country. This flower's fragrance could spread for hundreds of miles. If a woman drank it often, she would not age and her skin would always be tender and lustrous like a young girl. Later on, someone made crouching dragonflower into tea, and it became a tribute for the royal family. Other than a few large aristocratic families who could obtain some through special channels, it could be said that it was almost impossible for others to obtain it. Every year on Daughter's Day, the royal family would provide crouching dragonflower tea to the female guests in the bamboo house. This was also the only chance that the noble ladies of small aristocratic families had to drink crouching dragonflower tea every year. As Yilin spoke, she had already poured a cup for herself and drank a big mouthful with a face of enjoyment. Fengwu saw that the crouching dragonflower tea was bright red in color and had a fresh fragrance. She also poured a cup for herself. After drinking it, Fengwu's eyes lit up. It was delicious. After drinking a few more mouthfuls, Fengwu then started to eat the daughter cakes and shortbread. Fengwu, who was busy eating, did not notice that Qiu Ruoshui, who had ignored Yilin just now, actually gave her a look of praise. Feng Ting did notice it, but she was happy to see Fengwu be unlucky, so she naturally did not speak up to remind her. The noble ladies on the second floor admired the flowers and the scenery as they drank tea and chatted. Soon, it was time to release the lanterns. The sky was filled with sparkling fireworks and a dazzling firework started to bloom in the air. When the noble ladies saw this beautiful firework, they could not sit still and started to walk towards the garden in twos and threes. In front of the garden was the Daughter River. The noble women's river lanterns were all brought from their own homes. Each noblewoman could bring a maid with her. However, the maids were not allowed to enter the bamboo building. They could only wait outside the building. Fengwu's maidservant Qing, and Feng Ting's maidservant Ming, naturally followed. The two girls each held a river lantern and waited quietly in the room provided for maidservants to rest under the bamboo building. Juntian, what's wrong with you today? Why are you looking at the bamboo house? Are you worried about Feng Ting? Qiu Ruobai had long noticed that something was wrong with her good friend, From time to time, she would look at the bamboo building, so she guessed. Xiao Wu is also participating in the bamboo house's gathering this time. I'm a little worried that she will be bullied. Feng Juntian didn't hide anything and told his friend about his worries. Vice Captain, why are you worried about that bad woman? Last time she hit Ruoshui. Who can bully her when she's so fierce? Ning Fei said indifferently. That's right. That woman is so bad. Vice Captain, you should be more concerned about Feng Wu. How can she be qualified to be your sister? Lu Zong looked in the direction of the bamboo house with disdain. Lu Zong, I treat you as a friend. If you also treat me as a friend, please don't talk about Xiao Wu like that. Feng Juntian coldly looked at the two of them. Because he had already decided to be a good brother, he naturally didn't want his good friend to say anything bad about his sister. Lu Zong and Ning Fei exchanged a look. They understood Feng Juntian and could tell that he was serious. No matter how much they hated Feng Wu, they didn't want to fall out with their good friend because of that woman. Thus, the two of them obediently shut their mouths. This was the first time Qiu Ruobai had heard about her younger sister being beaten. Her two younger sisters were the treasures of the family. Normally, they were extremely spoiled. Since they were young, not a single finger had been touched. Now, she actually heard her two good friends say that her younger sister was beaten. Moreover, the one who did it was Feng Wu, who was recognized by the entire ancient Eastern country as trash. No matter how she thought about it, this matter was too fantastical. Qiu Ruobai, who had been smiling lightly, almost couldn't smile for the first time. Thinking about Feng Wu's trash strength, even if her younger sister wasn't a peerless expert, dealing with the trash was definitely not a problem. Thus, when she first heard about this matter, Qiu Ruobai's first reaction was disbelief. You said that Feng Wu hit Ruoshui. What happened? Although she didn't think this matter was true, she still understood these two good friends. These two had always been good friends with Ruoshui. It was impossible for them to make such a joke about Ruoshui. Ning Fei and Lu Zong carefully glanced at Feng Juntian. This wasn't what they wanted to say. They only said it because the captain asked them. At worst, they wouldn't say anything bad about Feng Wu. Thus, the two of them said that Qiu Ruoshui's one-sided provocation was that the two girls accidentally met in the mirage and then quarreled. In the end, Feng Wu flew into a rage out of humiliation and hit Qiu Ruoshui. After hitting her, not only did she not apologize, but she also spoke ill of her. In the end, they didn't pursue the matter and let Feng Wu go because of the vice captain. Qiu Ruobai pressed her throbbing forehead. Did these two people think that she didn't know their personalities? She was afraid that she would only listen to half of what they said. Jean Li, you tell us. Compared to those two unreliable fellows, she still believed in the steady Jean Li more. When we were doing a mission in the Mirage, we met Feng Wu and her friends. Ruoshui went up to provoke them and said a lot of unpleasant things. We didn't know when Feng Wu's strength increased greatly, but when we let our guard down, she slapped Ruoshui twice. Later, Yu Zong and Ning Fei asked Feng Wu to apologize, but Feng Wu refused no matter what. The two of them then fought with Feng Wu's friends. Unexpectedly, one of Feng Wu's friends used an image stone to record the scene. In order to not let this matter escalate, I took Ruoshui and the two of them and left first. Jean Li's narration of the matter was much more objective. He didn't add too many personal opinions into it. Overall, it was quite pertinent. It turns out that after Ruoshui came back that day, she kept pestering me and telling me to ignore Feng Wu. She even scolded Feng Wu in front of me and asked her what happened. She only said that Feng Wu hadn't given up on me and wanted to use her and Feng Ting to get close to me. Now that I think about it, Ruoshui felt that she had lost face after being slapped by Feng Wu and didn't dare to tell me the truth. That's why she said that Feng Wu hadn't given up on me and wanted me to help her teach Feng Wu a lesson. Qiu Ruobai rubbed her chin and turned to look at Feng Juntian. Juntian, my sister can't be beaten for nothing. Feng Juntian's expression was somewhat unsightly. He knew that the Qiu family was very protective of their own. If he didn't give an explanation, he was afraid that Qiu Ruobai would personally seek justice for her sister. At that time, Feng Wu definitely wouldn't be able to resist. As a good friend of Qiu Ruobai who grew up together, He deeply understood how ruthless this man's heart was hidden under his handsome appearance. Chapter 208. I will make her apologize to Ruoxue. No matter what, she shouldn't have hit her. Feng Juntian made a serious promise. After all, Feng Wu was in the wrong. No matter what, it was unreasonable to hit her first. Fortunately, with the relationship between the two families, an apology should be able to solve the problem. Feng Wu didn't know that her brother had discussed with Qiu Ruobai to make her apologize behind her back. She was now walking out of the bamboo house with Feng Ting and the others. Outside the bamboo house, there was already a lot of noise and it was very lively. Qiu Ruoxue didn't return to her sister's side. Instead, she pulled Feng Ting to Feng Wu's side. Occasionally, she would smile maliciously, which made people feel frightened. The excitement in Qiu Ruoxue's eyes was almost unconcealable. The smile on her face grew bigger and bigger. She couldn't wait to see Feng Wu's unlucky appearance. In the garden, many male guests began to look for noble ladies they were interested in. It was rare to have such an opportunity. It would be good if they could make a good match. Not long after, several couples had successfully struck up a conversation. Although Feng Ting was a concubine's daughter, she was beautiful and charming. Many male guests were inquiring about her identity. Although the status of a concubine's daughter couldn't compare to that of a legitimate daughter, her talent was much better than that of a legitimate daughter. Even her reputation was much better than that of Feng Wu. Many men still wanted to get in touch with Feng Ting. It would be good if they could succeed. Unfortunately, Feng Ting's heart belonged to someone else. She maintained a polite smile to these male guests who came forward to strike up a conversation. She always tactfully rejected others' advances with a gentle and generous attitude. Even those who were rejected couldn't resent her. There were also many male guests who came forward to strike up a conversation with Qiu Ruoxue. As the second legitimate daughter of the Qiu family, Qiu Ruoxue's status was much higher than Feng Ting's. The men who came to strike up a conversation with her were naturally not on the same level as those who struck up a conversation with Feng Ting. Feng Ting was envious in her heart, but the expression on her face was indifferent. No one could tell what she was thinking. Yilin, on the other hand, was very unconvinced when she saw so many men surrounding the two of them. Why? No matter what, she was the young miss of the Feng family. Why didn't a single man come to strike up a conversation with her? What kind of taste did these men have? Xiao Wu. Feng Wu was watching the fireworks when she suddenly heard her brother's voice behind her. She turned around happily. Sure enough, she saw her elder brother looking at her with a smile. Standing beside her elder brother were those annoying people who helped the bad guys. The bad guy was Qiu Ruoxue, of course. Although Feng Wu didn't care about Qiu Ruoxue following her, she still couldn't like someone who scolded Little Bun. When Ning Fei and Lu Zong saw Feng Wu, they also snorted disdainfully. Since Feng Juntian was present, they didn't say anything unpleasant. Big brother. Feng Wu ran into Feng Juntian's embrace, her little head happily rubbing against her big brother's clothes. Ning Fei and Lu Zong instantly opened their mouths wide, as if they couldn't believe that the person in front of them was the Feng Wu they used to know. Who didn't know that the person Feng Wu hated the most was her brother, Feng Juntian. Normally, the two siblings wouldn't even talk to each other. But now, she suddenly ran over and called him big brother so intimately. This wasn't right, it was very wrong. Could it be that she wanted to take revenge and break up their friendship from the inside? The more they looked at it, the more it seemed like this was the case. This woman was still as vicious as before. She was really too hateful. Qiu Ruobai looked at the affectionate siblings and thoughtfully rubbed her chin. She couldn't understand what Feng Wu wanted to do. Xiao Wu, were you obedient just now? No one bullied you, right? Feng Juntian was worried that Feng Wu would be bullied. He was also worried that Feng Wu would be impulsive and start fighting with others because of a few words. When they returned home, he was afraid that his grandfather would be angry again. I was obedient. No one bullied me. Feng Wu obediently allowed her brother to pat her head as she spoke seriously. That's good. Feng Juntian smiled dotingly and rubbed his sister's head twice. Big brother. Feng Ting looked at the affectionate scene between the siblings and felt uncomfortable. Did Feng Juntian only like Feng Wu and no longer care about her, this concubine-born sister? She didn't want to be ignored and she didn't want Feng Juntian to only dote on Feng Wu as his little sister. Thus she spoke up, her voice somewhat aggrieved. Ting Ting. Feng Juntian turned his gaze to Feng Ting and responded. Feng Ting felt even more uncomfortable in her heart. Before Feng Wu returned, she was her big brother's only little sister. But now, with the addition of Feng Wu, she who had been close to Feng Juntian for more than 10 years, was like an extra button. As expected, if they weren't born from the same mother, then there was a layer separating them. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't make up for it. Vice Captain, don't forget. You promised the captain that you would make this bad. Feng Wu apologize. Ning Fei originally wanted to call her a bad woman out of habit. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and turned around. Ning Fei thought with lingering fear. That's right, that's right. Vice Captain, quickly make Feng Wu apologize. She should apologize for hitting Ruoshui. Lu Zong chimed in loudly from the side. Feng Juntian coldly glared at the two of them. He turned Feng Wu around and made her face Chiu Ruoshui. Xiao Wu, big brother heard that you hit Ruoshui. It's wrong to hit people. You should apologize to Ruoshui. Do you understand? Feng Juntian didn't use his identity as her big brother to force Feng Wu to apologize. He wanted to try and reason with her. He felt that Feng Wu had grown up a lot recently. Perhaps he could make her take the initiative to apologize. Feng Wu heard Feng Juntian's words and looked at Chiu Ruoshui. She pursed her lips tightly and didn't say anything. Why did Big Brother want her to apologize to this bad person? This bad person scolded her baby and scolded her. Xiao Wu didn't like bad people. She didn't want to apologize. But if she didn't apologize, Big Brother wouldn't like her anymore. Big Brother treated her well, just like the older brothers of the little girls at the foot of the mountain. He would pamper her and buy her delicious food. She didn't want to lose her big brother, and didn't want to apologize. What should she do? Feng Wu girl rarely felt so distressed. But now she felt very helpless and didn't know what to do. Because she didn't know what to do, Feng Wu just stood there like a block of wood, and didn't say anything. Xiao Wu. Feng Juntian called out a few times, but his sister didn't respond to him. Could it be that she didn't want to apologize and get angry again? Xiao Wu, you should apologize. You shouldn't have hit Ruoshui that day. Apologize and let's make up, okay? Feng Ting gently walked to Feng Wu's side. She wanted to hold Feng Wu's hand, but Feng Wu girl hid her hand behind her back and didn't let her. Xiao Wu. Feng Ting looked at Feng Wu with hurt. She called out Feng Wu's name pitifully. Unfortunately, Feng Wu lowered her head and didn't even look at her. She just gave her a black crown. Feng Wu, you're bullying Ting Ting again. You're always like this. Isn't it because Ting Ting is better than you? You're so narrow-minded. Chiu Ruoshui glared at Feng Wu indignantly, as if Feng Wu had done something disgraceful by not accepting Feng Ting's kindness. Chapter 209. Lu Zong and Ning Fei were naturally the same as Chiu Ruoshui and looked at Feng Wu with displeasure. Humph. Bad woman. You only know how to bully others with your status as the Feng family's legitimate daughter. You really don't know how to repent. No wonder the captain doesn't like you. It would be strange if anyone would like a woman like you. Hurry up and apologize to Ruoshui. This time, not only do you have to apologize to Ruoshui, but you also have to apologize to Feng Ting. Lu Zong shouted. Feng Juntian looked at this scene with a headache. He didn't know what was going on, but things seemed to be getting more and more troublesome. He felt that Chiu Ruoshui, Lu Zong, and Ning Fei's reactions were too much. He knew that Xiao Wu had never liked Feng Ting. He didn't force her to get along with Feng Ting. In any case, in a large family, it was almost impossible to find a legitimate daughter and a concubine's daughter who had a good relationship. Feng Juntian was very unhappy that Lu Zong wanted Feng Wu to apologize to Feng Ting. Feng Ting and Feng Wu were both members of the Feng family. Even if Feng Wu did something wrong, only the Feng family had the qualifications to make her apologize. Lu Zong and the others had overstepped their boundaries. Lu Zong, the matter between Feng Wu and Feng Ting will naturally be handled by Juntian, a member of the Feng family. The implication was that his actions had overstepped their status as friends. Lu Zong was reminded by Qiu Ruabai, and also understood his mistake. He shut his mouth and no longer forced Feng Wu to apologize to Feng Ting. Ning Fei, who had originally planned to speak gently to Lu Zong, also understood when he heard the captain's words. He didn't dare to join in the commotion. Both of them were legitimate sons of large families. Even if their thoughts weren't as deep as Feng Juntian and Qiu Ruabai, they weren't idiots. Some things they didn't understand at the moment, but after being reminded, they immediately understood their mistakes. On the other hand, because Qiu Ruashui had always been spoiled by her family, she never had the concept of overstepping her boundaries. She only knew that her good friend had been bullied by Feng Wu, this trash. If she didn't apologize, she wouldn't be able to swallow this anger. I told you to apologize. Did you hear me? Are you playing dumb? Let me tell you, there's no way. You must apologize to me and Ting today. Otherwise, we won't be finished. With her brother here and two friends helping her, Qiu Ruashui had nothing to fear this time. Feng Wu still kept her head down. Even if she didn't say anything, she still wouldn't say anything. She looked like she was going to be a wooden puppet until the end. Qiu Ruabai frowned as she looked at her younger sister's unreasonable behavior. She wondered if she and her parents had spoiled her too much, spoiling her so much that she didn't know how to analyze the pros and cons. In front of the son of the first wife, she wanted a daughter of the first wife to apologize to a daughter of a concubine. If she had forced a small family, everything would have been fine. After all, the strength of the Qiu family was there. Even if that person had resentment in his heart, he wouldn't dare to disobey, let alone take revenge. It just so happened that the person she forced was the daughter of the first wife of the Feng family, who was as powerful as the Qiu family. A person who could do this kind of thing could be called brainless. It just so happened that this brainless person was her own little sister. Enough, Ruashe. Then he looked at Feng Wu and said, Feng Wu, as long as you apologize to my sister, the matter of you hitting her will be forgotten. In the future, no one in the Qiu family will pursue this matter. Brother. Qiu Ruashui didn't want to comply. How could she be let off so easily with just an apology? If she didn't slap her a few times, she wouldn't be able to vent her anger. I said, that's enough. Qiu Ruabai gave her younger sister a deep look, her eyes filled with a strong sense of warning. Qiu Ruashui knew her brother's temper. Usually, it was fine to throw a tantrum, but when her brother was angry, it was best to be honest. When her brother was angry, he wouldn't give anyone face. Qiu Ruashui closed her mouth, feeling wronged. She didn't dare to make her brother angry again. I won't apologize. At this time, Feng Wu, who had been silent, finally spoke. She slowly raised her head. Her voice was still soft, but there was stubbornness and a touch of grievance in her voice. Xiao Wu, don't be stubborn. As long as you apologize, this matter will be over. Ruabai has already promised not to pursue this matter. Feng Juntian stared closely at Feng Wu. He did this because he didn't want Feng Wu to be hated by Feng Juntian. He also didn't want this matter to reach his grandfather. Once his grandfather knew that Feng Wu caused trouble again, and even hit a daughter of the Qiu family, he would dislike Feng Wu even more. She's a bad person. She scolded Xiao Yi and me. I won't apologize to a bad person. Feng Wu turned away and no longer looked at her brother. Although Feng Wu wanted a brother, she wouldn't give up her perseverance for a brother who stood on the side of a bad person. Feng Juntian wanted to persuade her again, but at this time, there was a commotion. Many men and women looked towards the entrance of the garden. There were also small exclamations as if they had seen something incredible. Heavens, is that the prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom? He's so good-looking. I've never seen such a good-looking person. I feel that he's even more handsome than Feng Juntian and Qiu Ruabai. As expected of a prince from the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom, he's as beautiful as the moonlight. If only I had the chance to talk to her. Dream on. Can't you see that the princesses are here? Moreover, even if the princesses aren't here, there's still Qiu Ruashui and Lanzhou. How could we have the chance to talk to that prince? Did you guys hear? The third princess seems to have taken a fancy to that prince, and intends to have a marriage alliance with the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. Is that true? The third princess's standards are indeed high. I've never heard of any man that could enter her eyes. Now she's finally taken a fancy to one. What's so strange about that? That prince is so good-looking and has a noble background. I'm afraid there are many girls who have taken a fancy to him. However, who would dare to compete with the princess for a husband? It's not like they don't want to live in the ancient Eastern Kingdom anymore. The girls' discussion flooded into the ears of Feng Wu's group. Only now did they notice that tonight's distinguished guest had arrived. Separated by the crowd, they couldn't see whether the prince was as handsome as the girls described him to be. Feng Juntian didn't mention the apology again. After all, now wasn't the time. The visit of a prince from the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom was a big event. Moreover, it was said that this prince was very likely to be the next Moon Emperor. With such a noble person here, anything else could be put aside. Ting Ting, let's go take a look at that prince. I'm really curious what he looks like. With a new distraction, Qiu Ruoshui immediately forgot that she was still waiting for Feng Wu's apology. Although Qiu Ruoshui didn't have any other thoughts about this mysterious prince, she was very curious about what kind of person he was. Was he handsome? She heard that the people from the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom were all handsome men and beautiful women, because of the protection of the moon. She didn't know if this was true or not. Chapter 210. Qiu Ruoshui was very curious about the prince. She wanted to go to the third floor to ask Princess Ronghua, but her sister was worried that she would make Princess Ronghua unhappy, so she didn't let her go to the third floor at all. She really didn't understand what was wrong with her sister today. In the past, she could go to the third floor with her sister, and the Empress and the princess liked her very much. Why couldn't she do it this year? Although Qiu Ruoshui had a bad temper and did some tasks recklessly, she was not a smart girl. She couldn't understand the deep meaning of her sister's actions. The reason why Qiu Ruobing didn't let Qiu Ruoshui go to the third floor to inquire about the prince was that she was afraid that Princess Ronghua would be suspicious of her. Lan Zhou was already the future princess, but she hadn't chosen her future husband yet. Now everyone knew that Princess Ronghua was determined to get the prince. If Qiu Ruoshui went up to inquire about it at this time, maybe Princess Ronghua would think that they had some thoughts about the man she liked. People only knew that Princess Ronghua was graceful and elegant, but no one knew that she had always been narrow-minded and very suspicious. It took Qiu Ruobing a lot of effort to become friends with Princess Ronghua. She naturally knew when she could get close, and when she needed to stay away to avoid suspicion. It was a pity that Qiu Ruobing didn't dare to tell Qiu Ruoshui these things. Qiu Ruoshui had never been scheming, so Qiu Ruobing didn't dare to tell her these things. Well, Xiao Wu, do you want to go together? Feng Ting nodded, then turned to ask Feng Wu, who knew that Feng Wu turned her head and ignored her. Feng Ting smiled awkwardly. Humph. You don't know how to appreciate kindness. Ting Ting, let's go. Don't pay attention to that guy. Qiu Ruoshui made a face at Feng Wu, then pulled Feng Ting and ran into the crowd. Feng Juntian saw this scene, and could only smile helplessly. Although Xiao Wu had become obedient, she was still as stubborn as before. As long as she thought it was right, no one could make her bow her head. Feng Wu was very unhappy, because everyone here wanted her to apologize to the bad guy, even her favorite brother. Feng Wu felt wronged. Her master had told her that if someone said bad things about her, she should hit them back if she didn't want to listen. She was very obedient to her master. That bad person said bad things about her and the baby. She hit them back, but her brother said that she was wrong and wanted her to apologize. She didn't want to apologize. They were all bad people. Feng Wu missed her master, and she missed him more and more. Feng Wu, who was feeling aggrieved, didn't notice that the crowd was rushing towards them. It seemed that the prince was walking towards them, and the crowd was following him. Feng Wu inadvertently raised her head to look at the prince surrounded by the crowd. When she saw who it was, her eyes immediately lit up. The Feng Wu girl rushed forward like a cannonball, pushing aside the noble ladies who were blocking her way. Then, before anyone could react, she threw herself into the prince's arms. Ah! The young girl's scream rang out. Who is she? How dare she? She's too shameless. Our ancient Eastern country's face has been lost by this woman. Just wait and see. His Highness will definitely push her away. Isn't that Fengwu? Finally, someone recognized the Fengwu girl. No way. It seems to be her. Isn't she secretly in love with Qiu Ruabai of the Qiu family? Why would she throw herself into the arms of the Silver Moon ancient country's prince? Why else? She's just shameless. How infuriating. How did our ancient Eastern country produce such a shameless woman? How will His Highness look at us now? Even the other girls are losing face with her. Although there was still a smile on Princess Ronghua's beautiful face, her hands hidden in her sleeves had already clenched into fists. She really didn't expect that someone would be so bold. These noble ladies had already guessed that the ancient Eastern country and the Silver Moon ancient country had a marriage alliance. Now, there was a bold lowly servant who dared to seduce the prince in front of her. She really didn't know life from death. After the prince left, she would definitely make that woman pay the price. Princess Ronghua viciously thought in her heart. At the same time, she was still waiting for the prince to push this shameless woman away. The prince of the Silver Moon ancient kingdom also pushed away the woman in his arms, just as everyone expected. At this time, although Fengwu was no longer in his arms, her hands were still stubbornly wrapped around his waist. Her eyes were still a little red, and she looked very wronged. It's over. Feng Juntian secretly cursed. He regretted that he didn't keep an eye on Fengwu. This time he caused big trouble. It was all because of her that Fengwu did this kind of thing. Qiu Ruabai secretly frowned. What was Fengwu doing? Didn't she know that this would cause trouble for the Feng family? Qiu Ruabing stood behind Princess Ronghua and looked at this scene coldly. What was going on? It was reasonable to say that that kind of medicine shouldn't take effect so soon. Although she wanted to avenge her sister, she would never choose this time. It was reasonable to say that the medicine would take effect at least half an hour later. Qiu Ruabing was puzzled. Yilin walked away alone after leaving the bamboo house. She didn't want to be suspected. She didn't expect Qiu Ruashui to be so cruel. What kind of medicine did she use? Would the Feng family be implicated? Although Yilin was ambitious, she didn't want to harm the Feng family. No matter how stupid she was, she knew that the Feng family was her strongest backing. As long as the Feng family existed, no matter who she married in the future, she would not be treated coldly by her husband's family. If she had known that Fengwu would cause such a big trouble today, she wouldn't have agreed to help set up Fengwu in order to please Qiu Ruashui. Now, not only was Fengwu unlucky, but even the Feng family would be blamed for not teaching their daughter well. Although there would be no real punishment, the reputation of the girls in the Feng family would be ruined. Not teaching their daughter well? Fengwu was not the only girl in the Feng family. She, the cousin of the Feng family, would also be unlucky. Yiting was so regretful that her intestines almost turned green. Feng Ting was also regretful. She really didn't expect that Qiu Ruashui would arrange such a vicious plan to target Fengwu. If she had known it would be like this, she would definitely stop it. How could she not understand what Yilin could understand? She hated it so much. You drugged Fengwu. Why didn't you choose another time? Why did you choose to do it when the prince of the Silver Moon ancient kingdom came to visit? This not only harmed Fengwu, but also Feng Ting. It was almost impossible for her to find a good husband in the future. This was ruining her life. She even hated Qiu Ruashui now. If Qiu Ruashui treated her as a friend and considered her a little, she would never choose such a vicious way to ruin Fengwu's reputation at this time. Chapter 211. Thinking that her reputation was ruined by Fengwu, and that it was impossible for her to be with her sweetheart, her eyes turned red with hatred. Even though Feng Ting was smart, she almost fell to the ground in the face of such a blow. Feng Ting didn't know that Qiu Ruashui was even more surprised than her. Qiu Ruashui was also puzzled. The effect of the medicine couldn't take effect so quickly. She didn't want Fengwu to embarrass herself in front of the prince. This time, not only Fengwu, but also everyone in the Feng family would be unlucky. Qiu Ruashui's face was as pale as a ghost. If her family knew that all of this was planned by her and her sister, she couldn't imagine what would happen to her. If this matter was found out by the royal family, then their family would be disgraced by the royal family together with the Feng family. What was the most important thing for a family? Wasn't it face? Once she made the Chiu family lose face in front of the other major families, then Grandpa would never let her go. Just thinking about her own fate made Chiu Ruoshui tremble with fear. At this time, Chiu Ruoshui didn't know that before the Chiu family could do anything to her, the person next to her already wanted to strangle her to death. While everyone was having their own thoughts, the prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom did something that shocked everyone. When he saw Feng Wu's face, he was surprised at first. Then he gently reached out his hand and rubbed Feng Wu's dark little head. "Xiao Wu, what's wrong with you?" "Mingxi." Feng Wu softly called this name, and threw herself into the other party's arms. She buried her head in the other party's chest and didn't say anything. Yes, this visiting prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom was Mingxi. Mingxi was the prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. After the end of the training, Mingxi returned to the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. At this time, his father received a call for help from the Ancient Kingdom of the East. Mingxi came to the royal family of the Ancient Kingdom of the East as a guest. He never thought that he would meet Feng Wu in the ancient Oriental country, let alone in such an environment. It was just that Feng Wu didn't look good right now. Her eyes were red as if she had been wronged. Mingxi still had a certain understanding of the Feng Wu girl. Don't be fooled by how she looked all day long. In fact, she was very sensitive and could get hurt easily at certain times. "Good girl, don't be sad. You can tell me if you've been wronged. I'll help you, okay?" Mingxi hugged the little thing in his arms and comforted her softly. "Your Highness, Princess, I have some matters to discuss with my friend. Please forgive Mingxi for leaving first." Mingxi didn't push Feng Wu away. Instead, he turned his head and said to the Empress and several princesses of the ancient Eastern country, "No one could have imagined that things would develop like this." Prince Mingxi meant that he knew the trash Feng Wu? What a joke! Why her? What qualifications does this trash have to know the future heir of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom? Many of the small and medium-sized families didn't know about Feng Wu's unmarried child. This matter was spread among the children of the large families, but no one revealed it to the small and medium-sized families. Therefore, apart from a few noble ladies with extraordinary statuses, the rest of the group only thought that Feng Wu was a trash who was useless in both magic and martial arts. They didn't know anything else. Those who knew were so shocked that their jaws almost fell. This was impossible. They must have opened their eyes the wrong way. Feng Wu knew the prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. This was even more shocking than hearing that she was suddenly accepted by the Feng clan again. "Prince Mingxi, since you have something to discuss, then go. But don't go too far. Your safety is very important. Nothing can happen to you." After all, the Empress was the Empress. Although she was also crazily shouting that it was impossible in her heart, she still looked dignified and noble. She didn't show any displeasure at Mingxi's sudden departure. Mingxi nodded, took Feng Wu's hand and left. But with the Empress's reminder, they shouldn't go too far. Princess Ronghua looked at the scene of the two leaving hand in hand. Her heart was filled with jealousy. Why? Why did a woman with a bad reputation dare to come and steal her husband? She couldn't compare with that woman. She was so cold to her, but so gentle to Feng Wu. Lanzhou and Qiu Ruobing stood on the left and right of Princess Ronghua. They exchanged a look and didn't speak. The Empress patted Princess Ronghua's hand and organized the noble ladies as if nothing had happened. They were going to write down their wishes as in previous years, and then put their wishes in the river lantern. Princess Ronghua soon came to her senses after the Empress's reminder. She was a noble royal princess. She couldn't be laughed at. Thinking of this, she cheered up again. She acted like a noble lady and smiled elegantly and charmingly. She didn't mention that Prince Ming, she just left her and Feng Wu. The remaining 4 princesses, except for the first princess, were not born of the same mother as Princess Ronghua. They were happy to see her make a fool of herself. Prince Ming, she was so excellent. Of course, there was more than one princess who liked him. However, Princess Ronghua suppressed the other 3 princesses because she was the Empress's daughter. Since Prince Ming she came to visit, Princess Ronghua had not let them get close to her. She guarded against them as if they were thieves. Regarding Ronghua's tyranny, they dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. After all, Ronghua had a powerful mother, and she herself was Imperial Father's most favored princess. Whether it was in terms of background or love, they could not compete with her. The three princesses could only shut up and did not have any more ideas about Prince Mingxi. Unexpectedly, someone else took action when they didn't, and it seemed to be successful. No matter who the woman was, they would be happy as long as they could make Princess Ronghua suffer. Unlike the princesses who were gloating over Feng Juentian's misfortune, everyone on Feng Juentian's side had more complicated thoughts. Feng Juntian had even thought of capturing Feng Wu, but fortunately, he had changed his mind later on. Mingxi and Feng Wu were unaware of all this. The two of them found a small corner that wasn't too conspicuous and sat together. Feng Wu's pink and tender face was expressionless. She told them how bad the bad people were, how bad her brother was, and how everyone forced her to apologize to the bad people. Seeing Feng Wu's pitiful little eyes, Mingxi felt his heart soften. It's okay. If you don't want to apologize, then don't. It's not your fault. Feng Wu's eyes lit up when she heard this. Her whole person seemed to be in high spirits. He was really like her master. If it was her master, he definitely wouldn't make her apologize. And I know. Master said that if anyone bullies me, then I have to fight back. I have to beat them until they're afraid. They won't dare to bully me anymore. Feng Wu girl said with a smile. Hearing this, Mingxi suddenly felt a little displeased with Feng Juntian. What was Feng Juntian doing as an older brother? That person from the Qiu family still knew how to protect his little sister, but he forced Feng Wu to apologize to someone who insulted her. As an older brother, he was such a failure. Chapter 212. Your master is right. If someone bullies you, you don't have to be polite and fight back. If you can't beat them, you can look for Senior. Senior can help you. Ajur, Elena, and the rest will all help you. Mingxi reached out and patted Feng Wu's little head. And Feng Wu nodded her little head heavily, and her mood improved again. Mingxi and Feng Wu didn't chat for too long. After all, there were too many people here, and they didn't know when someone would come looking for them. It really wasn't a safe place to chat, so the two of them didn't chat for long before they appeared in front of everyone again. When Feng Juntian saw his sister, he immediately chased after her. Xiao Wu. When Feng Wu saw that Feng Juntian didn't say a word, she would have already pounced into her brother's arms and acted coquettishly. How could Feng Juntian not see that Feng Wu was angry? However, he was really doing it for Feng Wu's sake. Did she know that if she insisted on not apologizing, the person who would come looking for trouble with Xiao Wu wouldn't be a little girl like Qiu Ruoshui? Qiu Ruoshui might very well make a move. Xiao Wu, Big Brother knows that you are angry, but Big Brother is really doing it for your own good. Feng Juntian was very helpless. He had always treated his sister like this, but it was a pity that his sister couldn't understand his painstaking efforts. Because Feng Wu had publicly thrown herself into his arms, she had already become the focus of everyone's attention. When Feng Juntian ran over at this time, people naturally moved Shiguang over from time to time, and even pricked up their ears to eavesdrop. However, why couldn't they hear anything? They even made a soundproof barrier. Was it good for them to do this? Couldn't they satisfy their curiosity a little? Perhaps you are doing it for Feng Wu's sake, but it's a pity that this is not what she needs. Mingxi said indifferently. Although he still had an angelic smile on his face, Feng Juntian could still feel that Mingxi didn't like him. Take a look. If you still insist on Xiao Wu apologizing after you've seen it. Mingxi took out a stone-like object from his bosom and handed it over. Feng Juntian reached out to take it and sent his consciousness into the image stone. Everything that happened during the mission that day was recorded in this small image stone. That day, Tingyu had recorded the entire incident. Since this incident involved Feng Wu, she naturally could not allow this impression stone to be leaked. Since it was useless for them to keep it, Tingyu generously gave this stone to Feng Wu. Of course, things in the mirage couldn't be used in the outside world. Tingyu insisted that Feng Wu use her mental power to guide the contents of this image stone into the real world. and record it with another real image stone. Fengwu naturally did as she was told. This stone was useless, so she had kept it in her space ring. When she mentioned this matter when she was chatting with Mingxi asked for this image stone. Of course, before handing it over to Feng Juntian, he had already seen the contents once. After seeing the images in the image stone, he truly felt that Fengwu's 2 slaps were too light. She was so young and already had such vicious thoughts. She really deserved to be hit. After Feng Juntian saw all the images, his face turned ashen. He really didn't expect that Jean Li's 2 sentences would be so insulting. He originally thought that this time, it would be the same as before. When Fengwu heard Qiu Ruoshui call her trash, and perhaps said something about Qiu Ruobai, it would cause Fengwu to lose control and hit her. He really didn't expect that the words he imagined in his mind weren't even a tenth of what was recorded in the image stone. If he had seen this earlier, he definitely wouldn't have let Fengwu and Qiu Ruoshui apologize. It would be more appropriate to let them apologize to his Fengwu. He didn't want Qiu Ruobai to make a move on Fengwu, but that didn't mean that he was afraid of Qiu Ruobai. Now that he knew the truth, even if Qiu Ruobai really wanted to make a move, he definitely wouldn't let her succeed. To tell the truth, the 2 of them had been brothers for many years and their relationship had always been very good. If it wasn't to seek justice for his sister, he wouldn't be willing to go against Fengwu. Unfortunately, things had already reached this point. Regardless of whether this would affect their brotherly relationship or not, he wouldn't let Fengwu and Qiu Ruoshui apologize again. Xiao Wu, Big Brother was wrong. Big Brother won't let you apologize to Qiu Ruoshui again. Just like Xiao Wu said, Xiao Wu didn't do anything wrong. Feng Juntian gently patted Fengwu's head. And Big Brother is the best. Fengwu girl was happy and threw herself into her big brother's arms as usual. To her, as long as her big brother didn't force her to apologize, he was still her good big brother. Qiu Ruobai and Qiu Ruoshui, as well as Ning Fei and Lu Zong, all had a lot of questions to ask Feng Juntian. Unfortunately, Feng Juntian had been accompanying Fengwu ever since Fengwu and Mingxi came back together. He didn't come over to their side at all, so no matter how many questions they had, they couldn't get any answers. That night, Fengwu was very happy. With her big brother and Mingxi accompanying her, she released the river lantern, and even made a wish on a small piece of paper, allowing the wish to flow down the river. After Mingxi came back, he spoke a few words with the Empress and the princesses before staying with Fengwu. Seeing that Fengwu was in such a good mood, his perfect and exquisite face couldn't help but reveal a knowing smile. If he knew that the Fengwu girl's wish hidden in the river lantern was to marry him, he didn't know if he would still be able to smile. After the Daughter's Day, Fengwu's life returned to normal. A few days later, another big thing happened. That was, the Qiu family's madam brought her daughter to seek justice. The Qiu family only found out that their daughter had been beaten after the Daughter's Day. How could Madame Qiu, who had always doted on her daughter, tolerate her being beaten? Moreover, the one who beat her was not simple, my Fengwu. It would be strange if she could tolerate it. On the 3rd day after the Daughter's Day, Madame Qiu brought her son and daughter to seek justice. Qiu Ruobai originally didn't want his mother to know about this matter. He knew that his mother was a very protective person. How could she tolerate her own child being beaten? He originally wanted to find another opportunity to go to the Feng family and have Fengwu apologize. However, Ruobing accidentally revealed this matter to his mother. This time, the matter really became big. Even Qiu Ruobai couldn't do anything to his mother. Along with the Qiu family were Lu Zong, Ning Fei, and Jean Li. These were all witnesses. She didn't want others to say that she made up something out of nothing and deliberately wronged the Feng family's trash daughter. Lady Qiu and Lady Feng had never gotten along very well. Lady Qiu was very protective of her own people and had a very fiery temper. She didn't like Lady Lan, who was as gentle as water and would cry at the slightest provocation. Chapter 213. In fact, there was another important reason why the 2 of them did not get along. The specific reason was related to Feng Tianxing. Back then, when Master Feng was choosing a wife for Feng Tianxing, the daughter-in-law that Master Feng liked was the current head of the Qiu family, who was the mother of the Chiu family's 3 siblings. At that time, the Chiu family's old master also liked Madame Chiu. Both families' old masters liked this daughter-in-law very much. At that time, Madame Chiu's family naturally knew the intentions of the 2 families' old masters. They had already decided that when the 2 families came to propose marriage, they would agree to the Feng family. Lady Chiu was a strong woman, and was also a bit arrogant. Since she was young, she did not like handsome men. She liked men with masculinity. At that time, Feng Tianxing's skin was a healthy bronze. Like his father, he did not smile all year round. His whole face was like a living iceberg. The son of the Chiu family was born with fair skin, and was extraordinarily handsome. He gave people the feeling of a pretty boy. Men with this style probably loved many people. Unfortunately, Lady Chiu did not feel anything. Thus, when she knew that both families liked her as a daughter-in-law, she had already chosen to marry into the Feng family. But in the end, things did not develop as Lady Chiu thought. The husband she liked Lan Xiaodai, who she had always looked down on. When Lan Xiaodai was in the boudoir, she was a beauty made of water. She had countless pursuers. Her every move, every frown, and every smile was very attractive. She could always make people feel tender affection. Such a beautiful woman naturally did not get along with the fiery Lady Chiu. Lady Chiu had always looked down on Lan Xiaodai. She always felt that she cried at the slightest thing and was very spineless. She was also very embarrassing as a woman. At that time, Lady Chiu did not expect that the cabbage that she liked would be taken away by the daughter she had always looked down on. The Feng family proposed marriage to the Lan family, and the Chiu family still proposed marriage to them according to the original plan. Lady Chiu's parents thought that since they had already lost the Feng family, they could not lose the Chiu family as well. These 2 families were both super families with more than 1,000 years of history. To be able to have a marriage alliance with an ordinary big family like them was simply a dream. It would be strange if they did not agree. Thus, Madame Lan married into the Feng family, and Madame Chiu married into the Chiu family, each living their own lives. After marriage, Lady Chiu and the Chiu family's first son lived a very happy life. She discovered that this pretty boy she had always thought was actually very manly. In the end, she naturally fell in love with the current Chiu family head, and the 2 of them lived a sweet and happy life. After getting married, Lady Chiu always believed that she lived a better life than Lady Lan. Her husband didn't give her any concubine children, while the Feng family had a concubine's daughter, who held the title of eldest daughter. Her children were all geniuses, the dazzling pearls of the ancient Eastern country. Her son was a publicly acknowledged genius, and her eldest daughter was one of the 3 great beauties of the ancient Eastern country. She had countless suitors. As for Lan Xiaodia's daughter, she was trash among trash. Moreover, her personality was not good at a young age. Her heart was also bad. She always ran amok outside and caused trouble. In the end, she even gave birth to a child out of wedlock. It could be said that she lost all of the Feng family's face. In front of Madame Lan, especially when it came to her husband and children, she had always felt superior. It wasn't until she heard that her precious daughter was beaten by that trash Fengwu that she became angry and came to seek justice for her daughter. She didn't care why Fengwu beat her. She just wanted to let the Feng family know that their Chiu family's daughter wasn't beaten by that trash. Madame Chiu aggressively brought her 3 children and 3 witnesses into the Feng family. As soon as she entered the door, she demanded that Fengwu be handed over. Her whole person seemed very imposing. Chiu Ruobai looked on from the side and frowned. "Mother, were you sure you could handle this? Grandfather and Grandfather Feng were old friends for many years. You came to the Feng family today to make a scene. Are you sure Grandfather won't be angry when he finds out?" Chiu Ruoshui didn't think so much. As long as she thought of Fengwu kneeling in front of her and apologizing to her, she was very happy. Chiu Ruobing looked on coldly. Her whole person, like her name, gave people a cold feeling. Lu Zong and Ning Fei simply wanted to shrink themselves to the point that they didn't exist, and come to the vice-captain's house to make a scene. "I say, Auntie, can we use a more civilized way to solve this matter? Can we not drag these small people into the water? They are timid. Please don't make a scene, okay?" Jean Li, who had always disliked trouble, wanted to immediately get out of here. Unfortunately, this matter was simply impossible. Madam Chiu, I wonder why you suddenly came to visit. As the head of the family, Feng Tianxing, when he received the news of Madam Chiu's visit, he brought his son Feng Juntian to the hall to welcome her. But he didn't expect this Madam Chiu to be so imposing. It was obvious that she didn't come with good intentions. Feng Juntian used his eyes to ask Chiu Ruabai. Chiu Ruabai looked at her sister and returned a helpless look. Translated, it meant, my mother found out about my sister being beaten and is causing trouble. I also didn't want to make a big fuss. Unfortunately, my mother didn't listen. Feng Juntian immediately understood the meaning of his good friend's expression. He knew that today's matter didn't seem to be caused by Chiu Ruabai. Chiu Ruabai had never liked to rely on her family and would solve everything by herself. Today's matter was clearly not caused by Chiu Ruabai. Important matter. Of course it's important. Your daughter Fengwu slapped my daughter Ruoshui twice. How do you think this matter should be settled? Madam Chiu said aggressively. Looking at her expression, it was clear that she didn't want to be kind. Fengwu slapped Chiu Ruoshui? Was he hallucinating? Feng Tianxing's first thought was that this couldn't be true. As her father, he knew how weak Fengwu's strength was. With Fengwu's strength, if she wanted to slap Chiu Ruoshui, let alone actually slapping her, she wouldn't even be able to get close to her. You didn't stay at home early in the morning. Are you sure you didn't bring so many people to my house to make me happy? If she really had that kind of strength as her father, he should be gratified that his child had finally grown up. Are you sure it was Fengwu who slapped her and not someone pretending to be Fengwu to cause trouble for your daughter? Feng Tianxing muttered to himself for a moment before speaking. These words meant that he didn't believe it. To be honest, when Madam Chiu first heard this news, she also felt like she was listening to a heavenly book. What kind of strength did Chiu Ruoshui have? And what kind of strength did Fengwu have? The two of them were on completely different levels. Saying that Fengwu slapped Chiu Ruoshui? It was more believable that Chiu Ruoshui slapped Fengwu. If Chiu Ruabing hadn't repeatedly guaranteed the authenticity of the matter, and found Jean Li and the other two as witnesses, Madam Chiu wouldn't have come to the Feng family to make trouble. Chapter 214. As her father, you still don't know, right? I don't know where your daughter went to learn these evil skills. She's getting more and more powerful now. She even dares to hit my daughter. I know you won't believe me. If you want to prove what I said, it's very simple. You can ask your eldest daughter to come out and confront her. Your daughter wouldn't lie to you, right? Madam Chiu snorted coldly. She even asked Feng Ting to come out and confront her. This time, Feng Tianxing believed her a little. However, was Fengwu really that powerful? She could actually beat Chiu Ruoshui. Although Chiu Ruoshui's strength was no different from a child's play in his eyes, his Fengwu wasn't even at the level of playing house before. Feng Tianxing was shocked and doubtful, but he still asked the servants to call Feng Ting over. Feng Ting was a little confused when she heard that her father was looking for her. When she walked into the hall, she saw that Madam Chiu's family had arrived. However, the atmosphere didn't seem too good. Could it be that Ruoshui told Madam Chiu that Fengwu hit her? However, with Chiu Ruoshui's personality, wanting her to personally tell others that she had been slapped twice by a trash was undoubtedly an impossible matter. Feng Ting guessed correctly. Chiu Ruoshui indeed didn't think of telling Madam Chiu. Telling Madam Chiu was all Chiu Ruabing's idea. After Chiu Ruoshui found out, she felt a little embarrassed. However, when she saw her furious mother, she felt that it wasn't bad to use this opportunity to make Fengwu suffer a little. Father, I'm here. Although Feng Ting already had some guesses in her heart, she didn't show it on her face. She calmly bowed to Feng Tianxing. He responded faintly. Then he used his eyes to signal Madam Chiu's direction. Your Aunt Chiu said that Xiao Wu hit Ruoshui. Is this true? It's true. It happened a few days ago in the virtual realm. Feng Ting had already thought about it. She would tell the truth when she should. She couldn't say anything else. She was the daughter of the Feng family. It was fine if she secretly said something about Fengwu in front of Chiu Ruoshui, but she couldn't side with the Chiu family on the surface. Tell me what happened then, Feng Tianxing said. The situation at that time was like this. In the next 10 minutes, Feng Ting roughly explained what had happened in the virtual realm. Of course, she didn't mention the nasty words that Qiu Ruoshui had scolded her. She only mentioned the main point. Because she had met Feng Wu, the two of them had a quarrel. Later, Qiu Ruoshui had been slapped twice by Feng Wu. She didn't mention how harsh Qiu Ruoshui's scolding was back then. She just glossed over this part. Unfortunately, Feng Ting did not notice that the brother she had always wanted to please was looking at her with a thoughtful gaze. What do you think? I didn't say anything wrong, did I? It was your Feng Wu who started this. I won't make things difficult for you. Go and ask Feng Wu to come out. Kneel down and apologize to my daughter. Then this matter will be over. Kneel down and apologize. Hearing this request, everyone's expression changed. Qiu Ruoshui was gloating. Qiu Ruobing was secretly sneering, and Qiu Ruobai and Jinli felt that this request was a bit excessive. Kneel down and apologize. No matter how useless Feng Wu was, she was still the daughter of the Feng family. If she was asked to kneel down, wouldn't that be slapping the Feng family's face? Feng Ting looked on coldly. Madame Feng was also stupid. She could have asked Qiu Ruoshui to slap back those 2 slaps. Or, she could have asked Feng Wu to apologize directly and have the Feng family give some compensation. Although the people of the Feng family wouldn't be too happy if she did this, they would at least agree. You asked for Feng Wu to kneel down. Do you think anyone would agree? The Feng family was a super family that didn't lose to the Qiu family. Asking a daughter of the first wife of an aristocratic family to kneel down and apologize to your daughter in the Feng family's territory. As long as one had a bit of dignity and courage, they wouldn't agree. Although Feng Wu slapped Qiu Ruoshui, this was after all a dispute between the younger generation. It was already unsightly for you, the mistress of the family, to intervene in the struggle between the younger generation. Now you even dared to make such an excessive request. Do you want the 2 families to fall out? Feng Ting almost suspected that this Madame Qiu didn't bring her brain when she went out. With this IQ, how did she give birth to Qiu Ruobing and Qiu Ruobai? Fortunately, among the 3 siblings, only Qiu Ruoshui was like her. If Qiu Ruobai was like her, then the Qiu family would not be far from being finished. Thinking of Qiu Ruobai, Feng Ting's heart was sweet. She had liked Qiu Ruobai since she was a child. In order to make Qiu Ruobai like her, she worked hard to learn all kinds of knowledge and practice swordsmanship. She even put down her face to please Qiu Ruoshui, this brainless daughter of the first wife. Even when she accidentally found out that Feng Wu also liked Qiu Ruobai, she intentionally or unintentionally reminded Qiu Ruoshui of Feng Wu's thoughts. This made the relationship between Feng Wu and Qiu Ruoshui worse and worse. Although Feng Wu had a bad temper and was impulsive, her strength was not good. And although Qiu Ruoshui's strength was not high, she absolutely beat Feng Wu. So every time the 2 met, the one who was at a disadvantage was always Feng Wu. But fortunately, she was only verbally humiliated every time. Qiu Ruoshui still had a sense of propriety and wouldn't hit her. In addition, Qiu Ruoshui also asked many daughters of the first wives of the aristocratic families to isolate Feng Wu, making her unable to make any friends among the daughters of the first wives of the super aristocratic families. The reason why she did so much was that she hoped to cut off Feng Wu's hope of marrying Qiu Ruobai. But Feng Wu still didn't give up and insisted on fighting with her. So she pretended to inadvertently lead Qiu Ruoshui to think of a vicious plan. Qiu Ruoshui really contacted the brainless Yi Lin, and then had Yi Lin encourage Feng Wu to write a love letter to confess to Qiu Ruobai. Feng Wu really didn't have a brain. After listening to Yi Lin's words, she wrote a love letter to confess. That love letter naturally fell into Qiu Ruoshui's hands. After receiving the love letter, Qiu Ruoshui gave it to all the young ladies of the aristocratic families to read. Even the young masters of the aristocratic families read it. Feng Wu really suffered a big blow and finally came back with a bastard child. It was simply too satisfying. Didn't she do so much just to marry into the Qiu family? But Madame Qiu and Qiu Ruobing didn't give her the slightest chance, especially Madame Qiu. Every time she saw her, she had a disdainful expression. Qiu Ruobing even ignored her. That feeling was as if she was just a pet playing with Qiu Ruoshui. It was just a pet. If it couldn't make its master happy, it was fine to kill it or drive it away. It wasn't worth taking it to heart at all. She hated these two people in her heart. After failing to please them, she was too lazy to do more thankless things. Instead of pleasing them, she would rather spend more time to win Qiu Ruobai's heart. This time, Madame Qiu came to make trouble. If she could make Madame Qiu and Feng Wu suffer at the same time, she would be even happier. Kneel down and apologize. Madame Qiu really has a big tone. Although Feng Tianqing usually had a serious appearance, his current expression was even more terrifying. His eyes were as cold as ice as he looked directly at Madame Qiu. Chapter 215. Your daughter did something wrong, so isn't it natural for her to kneel down and apologize? Lady Qiu had always regarded her own child as the best in the world. Other people's children were just strangers in her eyes. Feng Wu, on the other hand, was trash in her eyes. She was just trash. So what if she had to kneel down? Is your daughter worthy of it? Let her receive my family's Xiao Wu's kneel. Aren't you afraid of suffering a loss of fortune in the future? Feng Tianqing flung his sleeves and placed his hands behind his back as he coldly said, "You dare curse my daughter." Madame Qiu was someone who could not tolerate sand in her eyes. How could she be willing to listen to others talk about her own child? Humph. Feng Tianqing lightly snorted and turned his head away, not wanting to pay attention to the shrew in front of him. He once again rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, he did not ask his father to propose marriage to her family. Such a valiant daughter-in-law should be left for the Qiu family to enjoy. Mother, we are not here to start a feud, so you should speak less. Qiu Ruobai really could not bear to continue watching. If this continued, the possibility of a fight would exceed 50%. Humph. Madame Qiu coldly snorted and turned her head away, giving her son some face. Juntian, go and call Feng Wu out. She is the person involved, so no matter what, she needs to be present to discuss a result. Qiu Ruobai really did not know what to say. They had not even seen the person in question. Yet they were already quarreling with the Feng family's patriarch. Her father had really worked hard. Feng Juntian turned his head to look at his father, asking for Feng Tianqing's opinion. Feng Tianqing faintly nodded his head, agreeing to bring Feng Wu here. After Feng Juntian nodded his head, he went out to find Feng Wu. The hall was silent and no one spoke. The atmosphere was so cold that it made people shiver. 10 minutes later, Feng Juntian led Feng Wu in, along with the Feng family's mistress, Madame Lan. Madame Lan had been teaching her daughter embroidery. Embroidery was a skill that only their ancient Eastern country had. All the girls in the boudoir had to learn this skill. Girls who were good at embroidery were always praised by others. In the past, Feng Wu had not been interested in such things, always thinking of ways to learn swordsmanship to shake off her reputation as a good-for-nothing. After much difficulty, her daughter had finally grown up and was willing to listen to her. She had originally wanted to teach her daughter culinary skills, so that when she got married in the future, she could occasionally cook a few of her signature dishes for her husband to eat. That would also be a form of entertainment, but she had not expected that Feng Wu was a culinary killer. Of course, this plan of hers had died before it was even born. Now she planned to teach Feng Wu embroidery. She didn't expect that although Feng Wu's cooking skills were not bad, her embroidery talent was not bad. Soon she could embroider well. What Madame Lan did not know was that Feng Wu had grown up on Mount Yuehua since she was young. Other than being a culinary killer, she could not cook. For example, washing clothes, chopping firewood, mending clothes, and making clothes. She had to do all these. Because she had done so much, her skills naturally improved. Not to mention embroidery. Even if she asked Feng Wu to make clothes for her now, it would not be a problem. Just as the mother and daughter were teaching and learning seriously, Feng Juntian came. Feng Juntian came to look for Feng Wu. He even said that it was Feng Tianqing's request to bring Feng Wu to the main hall. When Madame Lan heard this, she was shocked. Could it be that her father wanted to chase Feng Wu away again? After experiencing her daughter being chased away by her father-in-law once, Madame Lan, who was not particularly brave to begin with, was already scared out of her wits. Madame Lan was quite frightened by the scene she imagined. She made up her mind that if her father-in-law did not change his mind this time, she would leave with her daughter. She would not let her be alone again. Her daughter was too pitiful. No matter how Feng Juntian tried to explain himself, Lady Lan refused to believe Feng Juntian's words. She firmly believed that Feng Wuliu was trying to drive Feng Wu away again, and that Feng Tianqing might not be able to help either. At this time, no matter what, as a mother, she had to go with Feng Wu. She definitely could not let her father-in-law drive her daughter away. Feng Juntian. He already did not know what to say. This was the bad thing about having a mother with a strong imagination. She could always make you speechless. Even if you said something, she could ignore it. Why are you here? Feng Tianqing saw that his wife had also come and was stunned for a moment. Then he swept a questioning gaze towards his son. Feng Juntian. Don't ask me. I don't know anything. Unable to get a reply from his son, he could only wait for his wife to explain. What happened? When did Madame Chiu come? Why didn't you ask me to come over? Madame Lan glanced at her husband resentfully. Seeing that Madame Chiu was also here, she finally believed her son's words. As expected, it was not her father-in-law who wanted to chase Xiao Wu away. As long as her father-in-law did not want to chase her away, everything else was fine. Chiu smiled bitterly in his heart. Letting the two of them meet would only make things worse. Who did not know that Madame Chiu had always disliked his wife? Every time the two of them met, the smell of gunpowder would be thick. Although it was always Madame Chiu who gave off the smell of gunpowder, it was still unbearable. Madame Chiu also just arrived. I also forgot for a moment. He lied without changing his expression. Madame Lan nodded. I see. Why don't you invite Madame Chiu to sit? Servants, quickly make some good tea. Everyone quickly sit. We're all on the same side. Don't stand on ceremony. Madame Lan smiled gently, a stark contrast to Madame Chiu's fiery temper. Who's on the same side as you? Your daughter hit our Ruoshui. Make her kneel and apologize immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you and your wife any face. When Madame Chiu saw Madame Lan, her anger rose by 100%. Madame Lan's eyes widened in shock. She covered her small mouth and exclaimed, Xiao Wu, you really hit Ruoshui. Feng Wu's stoic face was still expressionless. She only nodded slightly. Heavens, Xiao Wu, you're already so amazing now. Our Xiao Wu has finally succeeded. No one can say that you're a good-for-nothing anymore. Mama is so happy for our Xiao Wu. As she spoke, she pulled out a hand scroll and began her daily routine of wiping away her tears. Did you not grasp the main point? Everyone was silent. And what did you mean by that sentence? She was not a good-for-nothing just because she hit Chiu Ruoshui? But it was true. Although Chiu Ruoshui was not the strongest among girls, she was not weak either. Feng Wu being able to hit Chiu Ruoshui at least proved that her strength was not weak. Even if she could not compare to Chiu Ruoshui, she was not too far behind. With this kind of strength, she really could not be called a good-for-nothing anymore. Stop crying. Hurry and make your daughter kneel and apologize. Don't pretend to be crazy here. Madame Chiu was about to go crazy. This woman was like this, always able to anger people to death. Why should she apologize? Madame Lan stopped wiping away her tears in confusion. Her eyes were still red, but the tears were no longer visible. She was able to hide her tears with such little effort. No one could compare to Madame Lan in her ability to hide her tears so easily. Chapter 216. Why should I apologize? How dare you ask me that? Looks like you're not going to settle this peacefully. This is just a conflict between children. As elders, we shouldn't interfere. Moreover, Heavenly Wind Continent is a world where the strong are respected. If Shuiqing's skills aren't as good as others and she's beaten, then she can beat Xiao Wu back. If she can beat Xiao Wu, then she can beat Xiao Wu back no matter how Xiao Wu beat her. Tianqing and I won't take revenge after this, and we won't bring our children to your Chiu family's door. No one thought that Madame Lan, who had always been gentle, would say such words. Her words were very rude, but they were very reasonable. Thinking about it carefully, it was true. Although Feng Tianxing was ashamed of Madame Chiu's action of standing up for the child, he couldn't say anything because of the relationship between the two families. Of course, if Madame Chiu went too far, Feng Tianxing wouldn't let her off. Now that Madame Lan had made things clear, Feng Tianxing was relieved. As a man, he really couldn't argue with a woman. You. Madame Chiu was so angry that she pointed at Madame Lan. Her face was pale, and she couldn't even speak clearly. What did she mean by if she could beat Fengwu, then she could beat her back? What did she mean by she and Feng Tianxing wouldn't bring their children to her house? Was this sarcasm? Or was it sarcasm? She had really underestimated this woman. She thought she was just a stupid woman who was sad every day. She didn't expect her to have such a sharp tongue. You want Ruoshui to beat you back, right? Fine, I'll let you reap what you sow. Ruoshui, Madame Lan has already said that you can hit her back yourself. What are you still standing there for? Go over there and hit her hard. Madame Lan said it herself. This is a conflict between two children. We adults can't interfere, okay? Madame Chiu sneered and used her eyes to signal Chiu Ruoshui not to show any mercy. It would be great if she could beat her back herself. She had promised her brother that as long as Fengwu apologized, he wouldn't pursue the matter. Now she could beat her back herself. Moreover, she didn't have to worry about being scolded by her brother. This couldn't be any better. Chiu Ruoshui walked out from behind her mother obediently and stared at Fengwu fiercely. Let's go outside and fight. Don't fight in the hall. No matter who wins or loses, this matter is over. I don't want anyone to continue pestering me. Feng Tianxing was also a decisive person. If they wanted to fight, then so be it. At most, if the Chiu family's girl was too heavy-handed, he would step out to stop her. Madame Chiu also knew that the hall was not a good place to make a move, so she nodded in agreement. Madame Lan was a little worried about her daughter, but this was the Feng family. No matter what, her daughter couldn't possibly be at a disadvantage in her own home. She and the child's father were watching over her. When the time came, they would see the situation and then step in to save Xiao Wu. Everyone walked to the training grounds at the back. There was not a single person in sight. This training ground was specially used by Feng Juntian. Normally, other than Feng Juntian, no one else could enter this place. Alright, this battle will determine the winner. You two should prepare yourselves. Feng Tianxing stood in the middle while Fengwu and Chiu Ruoshui each stood on one side. The others stood further away, leaving the center of the training ground for the two girls to make it easier for them to fight. Captain, this time Ruoshui will definitely be able to teach that Fengwu a lesson. Ning Fei said excitedly. I think so too. That Fengwu was able to slap Ruoshui twice, because we all thought of her as a piece of trash with no attack power. We didn't even think of guarding against her, and that's why she took advantage of us. If they really fought, how could she be Ruoshui's opponent? Lu Zong was very confident that Ruoshui would be able to defeat Fengwu. As usual, Jinli didn't say a word, as if everything around him had nothing to do with him. Madame Chiu had a confident smile on her face. Chiu Ruobing and Chiu Ruobai stood on her left and right. The three of them didn't think that their daughter and little sister would lose to Fengwu. Feng Juntian and Madame Lan looked at the center of the training ground nervously. In their hearts, they planned to rush up and save their daughter if anything happened. Feng Ting laughed wildly in her heart. She knew Chiu Ruoshui too well. Even if she didn't kill her, she would most likely be heavy-handed. At that time, even if Fengwu wasn't crippled, she would still be bedridden for a long time. Thinking of Fengwu's future, Feng Ting laughed wildly in her heart. However, she still put on an expression of worry for her little sister. No need to prepare, we can start now. Chiu Ruoshui looked arrogantly at Fengwu. She didn't think that she would lose. Today, she would take revenge for slapping her that day. Xiao Wu, what about you? Feng Tianxing frowned and asked Fengwu. Fengwu shook her head. There was no need. All right, then let the battle begin. Feng Tianxing shouted loudly. Then he retreated to the side, leaving the entire battlefield to the two young girls. Fengwu, don't worry. Seeing the relationship between our families, I won't kill you. However, I will definitely cripple the hand that slapped me. Chiu Ruoshui said with a cold smile. She was waiting for Fengwu to tremble in fear. Unfortunately, Fengwu still had that stoic face and didn't have any expression. Putting on an act. She snorted coldly. A small green ball of light suddenly appeared in her hand. Within the ball of light, there was an unknown plant. The plant was very small, but it looked quite extraordinary. This was Qiu Ruoshui's contracted magical plant. Although this magical plant's level wasn't high, it would grow with Qiu Ruoshui's strength. It would be extremely useful in battle. Go bind it. The green ball of light in Qiu Ruoshui's hand was full of spirituality. After hearing Qiu Ruoshui's command, it immediately flew towards Fengwu. The small ball of light actually grew by about 3 meters when it approached Fengwu. After growing up, the magical plant looked like an ordinary plant. However, it wasn't easy to deal with. It bared its fangs and claws as it used absolute strength to bind Fengwu. Just when everyone thought that Fengwu would definitely be bound, an unexpected scene occurred. They saw Fengwu jump towards the sky and instantly leave the magical plant's attack range. Don't think about escaping. Qiu Ruoshui wasn't in a hurry. She continuously chanted. Under Qiu Ruoshui's control, the magical plant nimbly changed its direction and continued to attack Fengwu. Fengwu's body nimbly performed a fancy spin in the air and successfully dodged another attack. After dodging this time, she didn't dodge again. Instead, she took the initiative to face Qiu Ruoshui. Everyone on the continent knew that the easiest way to defeat a magician was through close combat. No matter how strong a magician was, close combat was their weakness. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.